All right, hello everybody. It is a beautiful Friday evening, 10:33 p.m. It is a little rainy outside where I am, and beautiful wherever it is I am right now. Tonight on episode 5 of the Political Pigpen, back to our regularly scheduled programming after last week's emergency episode following the death of Ginsburg. But yeah, so tonight we are having our topic is going to be focusing on the, and that's a little ridiculous, but the possibility of a second American Civil War. The possibility of a second American Civil War. I know it sounds crazy, but there have been people talking about it. We've all heard Doomers and Boogalooers, all those folks just going
Join
on
me,
about.
comrades. Together we bash the fish.
Well, either way, either way though, I mean, we hear people on the left and the right talking about it. We hear people saying, "Oh no, that's not going to happen," because, like, I mean, I think we can all agree it seems absolutely ridiculous, just the prospect of it. But is it actually as ridiculous as it may seem at face value? So, first off, well, this is just going to be a short one, more or less casual. But let's start with everybody here introducing themselves. Let's start with you, Strange Second. Just everybody, you can self-promote too. Just say who you are, what you believe, and then if you have any particular, I don't know, streams or channels or what have you, feel free to go hog wild. Let's start with you, Strange.
All right, yeah, I'm Strange Seconds. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Strange Seconds. Check me out sometimes. I'm gonna eventually stream political stuff. And yeah, I've just been drifting further and further left since the pandemic started, essentially. Actually, basically since Trump got elected, really, if I'm thinking back to it that far. And I don't really know where I currently stand right now, other than just the part of the left that's kind of always angry.
Okay. And for the first joining us for the first time on this show, we have the Right Cafe. How are you doing today or this evening?
I'm doing good. I am the Right Cafe. I am essentially the social media arm for a Discord server that, regardless of how many times Discord attempts to take down, never seems to die. I guess ideologically, I'm closest to sort of, I guess, a clerical fascist, and I consider myself a member of the Dissonant Right.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome. We're glad to have you on here. Now, next, also joining us for the first time, we have Rooster. How are you doing this evening, Rooster?
Hey, I'm good. I'm Rooster. I'm an anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist. Basically, just anything that believes in private property and free markets. I don't have anything personally, but I'll say if you're on the bottom right, listen to Burning Boots podcast, and if you're looking for something more like centrist, look up Boston Makes the News. They have a podcast and a little bulletin board thing.
Nice. Glad to have you on tonight, Rooster. And finally, last but certainly not least, joining us for I think it's the third time now. Carl
Something
Menger.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, I know this is your I think your second time on Political Pigpen, but your third time on the stream overall.
Oh yeah. I guess last week wasn't official. All right.
Yeah.
Hello. I am Carl. You can follow me on Twitter at real Carl Menger. I don't have much else to promote. I'm just around, chilling and vibing. I'm generally on the lower right. At this point, I don't really have a specific label that I go under. I don't like violence. I don't like coercion. I don't like force. I want to see those eliminated in society. Whatever you want to call that. If you want to call that a voluntarist or an ANCAP or an anarchist or a pacifist, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. That's what I want. That's what I care about.
Okay. Again, we are glad to have you on as well. Welcome back to the show. Anyway, so as I was discussing beforehand, before we did our introductions, tonight's topic is about the ridiculous potential of a second American quote-unquote Civil War, or what some folks like to call it, the Boogaloo. I know that's a pretty controversial term, and I feel like we're saying that.
Civil War 2.0, Electric Boogaloo. Let's go.
That's exactly what I called this stream, yeah. No, but yeah, I feel like if I were monetized, the stream would probably get me demonetized, but I'm not monetized, so who the fuck cares? Um, so anyway,
You know, when you want to apply for monetization, though, they do look through your video history.
yeah, I know. Anyway, no, I'm just doing this as a kind of more of a pet project, more than anything. But anyway, so let's just start with some opening thoughts, just on the issue, on the possibility of a quote unquote boogaloo, as some people call it, or an actual full scale civil war, how it would play out in contrast to the last civil war that we had. Just whether
In the
just
90s?
We're
Yeah.
not gonna get a clean one if we get one. Put it that way. Look, and I'll just say this much: we can look at like modern historical examples. Look at Syria. Look at Libya. Look at Yemen. Were those clean civil wars? Were those really? There was a line where there were people on both sides of that line. Not really. It was
In
a
Libya, yeah.
Well, in Libya, even then, that line was divided in half and constantly changing. It was a huge patchwork map. I think,
Yeah, they didn't
honestly,
have the
what I'm
organizational
saying,
structure of the US.
yeah.
Sure.
The thing is what I'm saying though is we're not going to. We're not. I don't think we're gonna have a civil war where it's gonna be states versus states.
yeah, totally. I don't think that's
gonna be enough anarchy will eventually dissent that if eventually the military ever has to step in, the second they do, that's going to just make it in. It's just going to stoke the flames to the point where that's when I could see something like civil war going out, because the federal government sends the military in, then the states start going, I don't want the military in here, blah blah blah, and that's what leads to a bunch of fractury stuff. I think it would probably just be more of a breakup than a civil war.
I agree with that. I think it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you continue.
I think you're definitely on about that. What we are not going to see is an 1861 situation where states secede, the other states invade them and burn them to the ground. That's not going to happen. We're not going to have a brother fighting brother situation or organized on that large scale. What we can see is loose conflicts that are spread around, like what we're seeing now in the riots, but on a larger scale. That's possible. Yes. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be as bad as a lot of people are hyping it up to be. I don't think we're going to have a Boogaloo. I don't think that's really going to happen. I think that is going to be, as Strange said, when the government steps in and says, listen, we got all these weapons. People are cowards and they're going to back down.
I think that I think by the time year 2100, the United States will not be unified.
Absolutely agree.
Okay,
and the thing is that requires some forms of secession.
We got a solid 40-50 years tops, is what I'd say.
I just want to say, so overall, will we all agree that if there is a second civil war, it is not going to be between the states?
It could be between,
and that's what I'm saying. I think calling it a civil war is, kind of wrong.
Civil
war.
You see, actually,
I think it's more of an insurgency, an insurrection, or even a revolution. If you want to call it the Revolution 2.0, or an insurgency or an insurrection, that's fine. But the Civil War, it's not a civil war because it's not between states and it's not between governments.
I am going to take the opposite stance here, because technically, what we call the United States Civil War wasn't even really a civil war. It was a war between. It was a war. Well, I was going to say it was a war between two rival sovereign states.
Yeah.
Because, like the United States, we consider today, especially in the history books, the Confederacy as sort of like an illegitimate breakaway government. That's like what the history books said. But every single other Western nation state recognized their legitimacy as a sovereign country. So I personally think it is far more accurate when referring to the United States Civil War to refer to it as something like the war between the states or the War of the Southern Secession. I think
I'll agree with that, because
the fairest way to call it.
Yeah, what I was going to say,
because actual civil wars are more so between internal political factions and their loyalists, as opposed to governments.
That's just the point I was trying to get across. It's not like the Boogaloo side is one government and the other side is another government, like
The thing is,
like
I
the
found-
American Civil War.
Guys, I found the word we're looking for, and they'll probably rename it to Americanization after this. But the word we're looking for is Balkanization.
Yes.
That's what will happen.
I don't think so. Okay.
I think the most likely scenario.
I think we're going to do Roman Republic. We're going to break up. We're going to have like something kind of like the last war of the Roman Republic. And then there's a likelihood there may sort of be a strong man to come fill the void. And then
Well, I think
bring it back.
I think if there were a ton of disparate factions, it's possible that they're unified. I mean, the Spanish Civil War, in the very first few days of it, there were a shit ton of disparate factions on the right. So there's monarchist, fascist, some libertarians of sorts, and they were all united under one leader who sort of led the broad coalition, which the Spanish Civil War, actually, I would think it's sort of weird. It's a broad coalition of right-leaning groups, a communist republic, and a group of anarchists in Catalonia who were attempting to secede from the republic.
Okay.
I think it's possible that there were to be sort of a civil war, it would be done by the military. Right now, I'm working on a county map of the United States to try to figure out what the breakdown will look like.
Do you have wait? Is that, how complete is that? Because you could send it to me and I could have it shared on the screen.
It's not complete as of the moment. I'll send you a link to it, and then I'll when I'm well. In the meantime, I may not talk as much.
Okay, no, that's fair. But speaking of talking and you talking, I actually want to hear how you think it would potentially play out, especially in contrast to our last quote-unquote civil war.
I think what would happen is I actually disagree that it wouldn't be a coalition of states. The right has nothing to gain from being in the Union by maybe 2060. The reason why I say that is because they're demographically outnumbered. What does Utah have in the perma-blue Union? The idea that I think would happen is it will be several straws until there's a straw that breaks the camel's back, on which talks of secession would be a serious topic of conversation among right-wingers in whatever areas they have left, and that would probably lead to maybe there actually are examples in certain state legislators of people legitimizing the idea of secession that have been happening all in the past few years.
Okay.
And I think South Carolina was actually the first one to do this in 2018. I know it's funny, with South Carolina, you had the nullification crisis in 1833. Then you had that they were the first states to secede to the Confederacy. And if the people who I'm about to talk about succeed, it will be South Carolina yet again. So basically,
interesting. Elaborate on that, because that's something I've never considered before.
A group of about 4 South Carolina lawmakers introduced a bill about a year or two ago that basically legitimized a secession debate over the issue of gun rights. Basically, they believe the federal government is trampling on gun rights. Then the state would be authorized to lead the union.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And also, you had interstate secession, where I know we were talking about this earlier, but
before the stream, we were talking about earlier this year about how. Or no, I think this was actually more. Maybe it was even a year ago at this point. God, this year's gone by so fast. But it was some point between mid 2019 and early 2020. But it was
Also,
after,
a response.
hey, hold on. I'm giving
A commenter, though, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I see. No, but it was after Northam pulled some of his shenanigans. He pulled so many shenanigans, I forget which one it was, but it may have been the late-term abortion, I think. But there were some counties in the state of Virginia who decided that, actually, no, it was the governor of
West Virginia.
Yeah. You know what? You take over. I think you know more about this than I do.
The governor of West Virginia, Jim Justice, offered every Virginia county who hated Ralph Northam, if you secede from this state of Virginia, commit treason, and join West Virginia, we will accept you.
Yeah.
Keck W.
Which I'm surprised
it's
that
not
really
even really
didn't
treason. Like, I
happen
mean, I
because-
feel like
Oh,
that
I
is
know,
something
I'm
that
just
should
saying-
be allowed to happen because it's not like they're leaving the union. They're
Yeah,
just
no,
leaving
I'm
the
just saying,
state.
I think Ralph Northam would attempt to frame it as such.
Yeah, he
but
would.
they're not giving aid to any enemies of that state. That
I
doesn't
know,
make sense.
but,
They're just
but you
leaving.
really expect like the governor of a state, a governor of another state, if he saw counties leave the state, to act in good faith?
Oh yeah, of course not. Of course not.
Okay. Now let's go on to Rooster. Rooster, how would you see this potentially playing out?
So I think it's kind of just been poorly portrayed that like the Boogaloo or whatever you want to call it is this like Republican thing. I absolutely do not think.
I've seen plenty of BLM people who have used the phrase Boogaloo and have quote
That's
unquote
something I want to get into. Yeah.
aligned themselves with the Boogaloo and have considered themselves such. Like you have.
I think it's more of an anarchist, maybe libertarian, left or right versus statist.
Yeah.
And that's how we see it. That's how those people see it. So it wouldn't be like state seceding. If you want to talk about state seceding, you're not talking about Boogaloo. You're talking about something completely different. Because what I would see going down is the government just doing something so egregious that it just pushes people over their breaking point, and then guerrilla warfare starting with the people who haven't been interested in listening to the government for a long time, and then they've done something so egregious, and that going on basically forever until either we're all dead or we win. And I don't know which of those would happen, but I don't think it's going to be some. The main thing is it's decentralized. There is no like command structure. There is no states, things like that. It's not right wing or left wing or Republican or Democrat. It's anti-government versus government tyranny. That's the main thing. It's an opposition to government tyranny.
AKA people who are anarchists are basically more right-leaning or left-leaning, depending on if the president is right-leaning or left-leaning.
That is.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
I feel
come
like-
on.
I don't even know
that's
what the
a pattern
fuck
I've
you just
noticed,
said.
At least,
Like,
at least in media, I will say that much. That is really obvious. Anarchists.
that's where you get your opinion
people
of
who are at
anarchists
least,
from.
like not anarchists, to be fair. I'm talking more on the libertarian front, to be honest. I need.
That's not true. That's not true because
it's
the 2016 Libertarian candidate was far more left-leaning than the 2020 Libertarian candidate, who's actually pretty right-leaning, and that just debunks what you just said because in
but I think
2016 Obama was president. Now Trump is president. So based on your logic, we would have a left-leaning Libertarian candidate.
Yeah, and I think you're basing that on an assumption that like anarchism or libertarianism, whichever you're talking about, is a reactionary philosophy, but it's not. It's a
form of liberal. It's a form of liberal. It's a form of liberalism.
Yeah. The policies that they advocate don't change depending on like whoever's in power. If one person is in power and says bomb Syria, and the other one doesn't, both times they're going to say, yeah, don't bomb Syria. That it's not because it's a reaction. The libertarians or anarchists are never going to say, oh, bomb Syria. Yes, we should, because we don't like this guy, because it's not really a reaction. Although, it is somewhat, but it's not reaction to the current power structure.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying reactionary, and I'm not necessarily talking about the fundamental ideology. What I mean is, at least, I'm coming at this especially because I'm using my perspective from back when I knew jack shit about politics, and I'm talking from a more popular perspective. For people who don't spend hours a day reading media online all about the very intricate nature of politics and political thought.
What a life.
You would see people who were more libertarian or anarchist before. You would see them more like with the people like the Tea Party and stuff like that, whereas now you tend to see more anarchism elements like Black Lives Matter and stuff on that line, which typically lines up more to the left than to the right, at least in popular vision.
I think the only reason for that is because of we try and get ourselves into the spotlight. So if you see the Tea Party, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna add myself to the parts that I agree with just to like show people what I believe. And then you see Black Lives Matter and you're like, okay, I'm going to align myself with the parts I agree with just to show people what I believe. I think it's just a matter of what's there at the time. There's no Tea Party right now, but there's Black Lives Matter. So I'm not going to post on Twitter about the Tea Party. I'm going to post like, hell yeah, Black Lives Matter, blah, blah, blah. This is what, this is an anarchist thing, blah, blah, just to like kind of get people over to my side.
Hey, look, you know what? I totally support that, Look, the left needs all the allies it can fucking get because it seems to keep chasing them all away.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, we have that in common.
Yeah. But yeah, can we talk about with the media, how the media has been characterizing?
Yes.
Like the whole. Hold on, let me pull up let me see if I can.
Yeah, I have one of the articles right.
Yeah,
right
you know what?
here
You
pulled
send
up.
it to me. What source is it from? Because I'm trying to use
I have
sources that are.
poverty law cinder, bro. Southern
Okay,
poverty law.
all right. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm also
So-
trying to stick to when I'm putting sources up here and putting articles. I'm trying to use ones that are verified by NewsGuard. So I'm trying not to use like.
So,
I'm trying not to use
CNN, MSNBC,
Yeah.
Fox
Yeah.
News, just the shit ones.
Yeah. This is about the Boogaloo boys that were arrested a while back.
Pardon?
This is about the Boogaloo boys that were arrested a while back during the protest.
I will
But they talk about the
pull that
whole
up.
movement. So this is what the extreme anti view of it is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Okay.
And, and there was an NPR article.
Southern
I know.
Poverty. I don't even want to say the name. All right, June 9th, 2020. The 3 military veterans marched through the woods near Lake Mead, 25 miles southeast of the glitz and glamour of the Las Vegas Strip. Their intended destination, a park ranger station in the National Recreation Area. The men, an Army reservist, a former Navy seaman, and a one-time Air Force airman, wanted to scout out the station and, the FBI said, assess it as a target for possible firebombing. Despite detailed planning, the plot never came about. The men moved on, with aims to disrupt the economy and cause chaos at protests over the death of George Floyd, according to an FBI criminal complaint. You see, what I don't like about this, guys, is that what this basically is, it's they're just saying this FBI guy said this. This FBI guy said this. It's like anybody can say that. Anybody can say an FBI informant told me. It's like
And that is not ethical journalism.
It's like, do you guys remember Jacob Wool?
Yeah.
He's always like, I heard this in a hipster cafe, and then he just says the most retarded shit ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big problem. Is that is not ethical journalism. That you can't just say that, oh, some source said something. You have to have some sort of verification at some level. Like one example of this is that that story a while back that the Taliban was paying, or Russia was paying bounties to the Taliban, and that story was entirely made up. But the New York Times is saying it, and they're just saying, "Oh, someone in the intelligence community said it, so it's real." And that's just total BS. And then that's the same situation here.
When it's one of these establishment institutions, then it's like automatically that gives them credit. Like anything they say, that gives them credibility. It's like they're at the very top. They're the ones who decide the truth, and then everyone below them. Then all the other like lesser quote unquote outlets cite them for citing bullshit because they're allowed to cite as much bullshit as they want.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
you can say something ridiculous, but then if the New York Times repeats it, then it's real.
Yeah, I remember there was this funny joke. I think it was like Family Guy or something back in the day. And it was like anything that was once real, as soon as it is stated on Fox News and MSNBC and CNN, automatically or like after that become not real.
Yeah.
To be fair, and as someone who I was a journalism major for 2 years before I dropped it because I realized journalism's just gonna fucking die.
I don't think you need to be trained for journalism. Like that's not something you train.
No, you should be. If
I mean,
if most
the ethical
if most journalists followed the rules of journalism, we wouldn't be in this position right now.
That's
The
true.
thing
As someone
is,
who is
Fair
they
enough.
fucking
currently
don't.
class.
Our problem, arguably, is that our journalists we have now weren't fucking educated enough.
No,
The
you see,
thing is
no,
that,
okay, guys.
Yeah, they should have spent more time in college. That's the problem.
Sean Hannity did not go to college. What's his name? Who's that idiot on MSNBC?
What do you think they like Sean
all of them?
Hannity?
Chuck Todd did not go to college. And then all of these other most of the other journalists you see did not. Their educational background has absolutely nothing to do with journalism.
Yeah, if your goal is to get on the news and create propaganda, yeah, you don't need it. But
And
if
then
you're trying to do what I'm trying to do, then yeah, it
that's
is.
why I
good.
became an
Then you have
advertising
Cuomo.
major. I just gave up. I'm gonna be the ones making the propaganda and making fat fucking stacks.
And they manufacture consent. They tell the people, or like you have these the media, the establishment, the legacy media, ends up parroting these talking points, no matter what they are, and then they keep repeating it over and over and over again, and then give justification in such a way, like they say it in such a way, they use their excuses in such a way that make them sound completely knowledgeable, completely credible on the issue, and because of the rhetoric, the way in which they say it, it makes them sound credible. Like no matter how much bullshit they're spewing, the people ultimately end up believing like what they are saying because they are so quote unquote trusted because they are the legacy media, and then people buy it. I mean, this is self-explanatory right here.
Are you gonna go over like this whole article, or did you just want to like see a little snippet?
Well, no,
thing.
I didn't want to go over the whole thing, but I just wanted to show.
Okay.
As an example.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to say one thing you can see in it, and that's like 2 paragraphs in. It says, I'm going to actually quote it so that way I don't. But it says, the men moved on with aims to disrupt the economy and cause chaos at protests over the death of George Floyd.
They're not
Yeah,
even
did
allowed.
you
A
interview the
little
men?
while
How
later.
do you know
No,
that?
no.
Yeah.
A little while later, where is it? It says, just one second. Okay, and then it says, a self-proclaimed Boogaloo boy from blah, blah, blah was arrested in April, making threats against a peace officer, saying that he was going to kill a police officer. It's like, what? It's like, how can you bitch about both things? How can you say we're going to be anti the protests over George Floyd, but also we're trying to kill police officers? Like, it's just like they're just throwing everything up in the air and hoping something sticks. Like, those are two opposite things.
That's what the media does. And then, have you also noticed, like just in general, what the legacy media does is that they convince the average viewer to believe in, and it seems like it works all the time, to believe in things that originally they would not have believed in. Like, does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like, for
Yeah.
example, nobody liked nobody fucking liked Kamala Harris, for example. And then she dropped out. Nobody gave a shit. Like, she had like 5% support overall, and they were just all a bunch of annoying Karens.
Yeah, but the truth about that is, Jacob, nobody who knew about her liked her. It is very easy to take a figure who barely anyone knows, scrub past a little bit of their past, present a shiny, new, fresh image, and voila. Nobody gives a shit. You just hide all the
You hide it even project
you hide it all in political. You hide it all in the political past.
Like
marketing, her marketing team's fucking genius. That's what I'll say.
She was like a third-tier candidate. She had her 15 minutes of fame after she ended up like completely shitting on Biden, which was very amusing. I thought she won that debate. Just objectively speaking, she did win that first debate. But then after that, you get to by December, especially after Tulsi Gabbard completely like demolished her.
No one can roast a pig like a Hawaiian.
Exactly. But then after Tulsi roasted her pig, then her support dropped. She faded away, and she dropped out when she was at like 4% support. And then even the people who like me kind of liked Kamala at first, they were like, "Oh no,
Hey,
Yeah,
at least
no,
her
he's kinda-
tale isn't
kinda
as
stupid.
tragic as what's his face. I think a senator or representative from Texas or something like that.
Ted Cruz.
Beto?
Beto, yeah, at
Oh,
least not as
Beto.
tragic as the Beto
Bro.
political
I love-
career.
My favorite
That's-
was people called him Beta O'Cuck.
I'm going to make the pillar of my campaign gun control.
No.
Wait,
He got
it's
so
Yeah,
three-
do it,
wait,
bitch.
Wait,
got
oh
so
no, it's
desperate, he was like,
it's been 3 weeks after a mass shooting and nobody gives a shit anymore. Fuck.
And now he's a crazy.
He got a little
cat leader
scared. He got a little
living in a
scared because
basement.
everyone said, "Come and take it, bitch," because he said, "We're coming to take your AR-15," and everyone's like, "Okay, do it."
Yeah, and
And he was
that's
like,
why
"Oh,
the
maybe I
Virginia
shouldn't."
gun rally in January was such a big deal because everyone was upset about that.
Oh, and you know
Yes.
the Black Panthers went there too.
Yeah,
Yes.
No, and
That-
they were
that's
like,
why
they were
everyone was
literally
hyped
locking
up about
arms with the Proud Boys.
It was
They were
awesome.
locking arms with the Proud Boys.
Dude,
Gun
that
control
was so-
started as
that
a
was so
racist. Fuck, I just lost the word in my head. Gun control started as a racist policy. Just
And
gonna.
we remember back in the
Mention that.
No, to
Remember
be
back in
fair,
the- in
that
the 60s?
actually is that completely true. California introduced the first
Back-
gun
yeah,
control
so
laws
back
when
in the-
black people armed themselves.
I think
Exactly,
this was-
to stop
I think
themselves
this
from
was
being
when
lynched.
Reagan
What was
Johnson
it?
was
No, BoJack Horseman did an excellent parody of that, where what is it? What's Diane made it popular for women to carry guns, and then California banned all guns.
This was in the 70s, I think. I think it was when Reagan was governor. Actually, all the Black Panthers went out to start. No, this was maybe before Reagan. I don't. It was sometime
Reagan,
before-
unironically, was probably the worst member of the worst California governor, or most overrated one. He introduced an amnesty bill that turned it blue in like 10 years.
Yeah, war on drugs. Much like that
No,
hasn't had any bad repercussions.
Reagan was for
but-
open border. Reagan was like for open border. Like the GOP was like the open border party until '94.
Yeah, and apparently Harry Reid, the Senate Majority Leader, who's in the Dems, actually wanted to end birthright citizenship.
Yeah,
You see, I want to end
The
birthright
Republican
citizenship,
Party
but I want
snorted.
to end it
The
for everybody.
Republican Party snorted way too much of that religious fundamentalism crack.
Well,
I don't think it's really because of that. I
No,
think
that was only a small part. I think it was also the neoconservatives were a big part of it too.
yeah, it was the neoconservatives.
I'm talking about war on drugs.
War on drugs was started by
I
War on
do
drugs
not
started
believe
by LBJ and Richard
Yeah.
Nixon.
heroin.
all of this stuff, gun control, war on drugs, all of that, the welfare, all of that is because of Lyndon B. Johnson. He screwed it all up.
No, Lyndon
Yeah,
B. Johnson. Like,
Lyndon B.
okay, guys.
Johnson
So I have a theory, and honestly, it's not even much of a theory at this point. But so LBJ, we all know he was not technically a segregationist, but when he was in Congress, he was a segregationist adjacent. He sided with them on almost like 75% of the things, and then immediately after Kennedy, quote unquote, dies. I mean, okay, he did die. He was assassinated. Whatever.
Are
That
you
was-
sure?
did he?
that came out really.
Lit-
That was the dumbest thing I've ever said on.
Kennedy is living in Argentina
Aruba
right now.
after Kennedy was supposedly
Jamming out with Tupac.
assassinated by
The CIA. Sorry.
I was going. Well, he probably was no. But after Kennedy's assassination, yet LBJ came in and was president. And immediately, he started catering himself as a friend to minority communities, particularly the black community at the time.
I'll be.
And it was the farm votes. That's literally all it was. Like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed. It was a political maneuver on his part so he could get reelected. And then same with the Great Society. The Great Society was more or less just a very subtle way of replacing Jim Crow. It was to build dependence.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
great leap forward.
Here's the thing. I'll be winning over them blanks for 100 years.
Oh, you didn't say
Yeah,
black.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Yep,
fucked up.
absolutely. That is the purpose. It was absolutely none of this bullshit they give about like, oh, we're gonna help people, we're gonna end this segregation. It was all to screw over the black community.
It was literally
all to
like
end
keep
their
them in
families.
poverty.
It was all to create permanent poverty. It was all to get them blank votes for 100 years.
Yeah. And it's working too.
Absolutely.
What? Wait, what did you say?
The Great Society, the Great Society, a lot of welfare programs, because it essentially led to the creation of the hardening of a caste system. That's what there is. That's what there is in the inner cities right now, especially. Social mobility and opening up a business in African American inner city communities is pretty much impossible these days. And then a lot of it is the regulation that you see in cities, large cities as well. New York has surprisingly been doing a bit better, but Los Angeles and Chicago are the worst. If you are African American and living in one of those cities, it is almost impossible at this point to start a business that will ultimately succeed in the long run.
Bro,
Yep.
I'll cede on a lot of I'll cede on a lot of taxes if they add an inheritance tax instead. That's the honest truth. What I think about it. If I wanted, if I were to think of a system of capitalism that I personally would think is fair, it would be one in which, guess what? You can't hoard your money until you die and then just leave it until your family. You want to spend it,
or
you want to
save your money.
You want
or
to
save your money and leave it to your kids so they can have a good life.
Well, here's the
What's
thing.
wrong with saving money?
To an extent,
Yeah,
I believe the cap for with leaving it to your kid should be 10 million per child. That is more than enough for them to do
a
it.
cap? What's
Easy,
wrong with
so
So then all
for
the billionaires
future?
leave and go to other countries and take their
You know what?
GDP with
Okay,
them.
okay.
Put
you
it
guys
this
know,
put it
guys,
put
guys,
it this
guys.
way, okay? If you
So guys, sorry, Will, I had to mute you for a second.
if you're sitting on a
So you guys know James M. Buchanan?
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry about that, Will. I just needed to. I'm trying to be a little more moderated.
okay,
No, but so James M. Buchanan, who was I don't know if he considered himself an Austrian, but he was Austrian adjacent more or less. He was like a classical liberal economist. He was friends with like Hayek and all that. But so he proposed actually, believe it or not, I think it was like a 90% inheritance tax, and that's how he wanted taxation to be funded. Like that's how he wanted.
Because he was like a public choice guy. Yeah.
He was public choice, and so he was like, okay, because the thing is, he he also didn't like how he was not a fan of the super rich too, especially because he grew up in like abject poverty. But yeah, so he was not a fan of the super rich, and so he believed in taxing the rich at 90% after they died, and using the money collected from that inheritance tax to fund the government. Because he thought that his whole thing was when people interact with the public sector, whether it's corporations or voters when they're voting in elections, they will always do what will benefit them the most. You'll have the rich who will vote for candidates who will give them the biggest tax breaks. The poor will disproportionately vote for giving themselves more welfare. And in the end, when all of these interest groups are not only voting for certain privileges, benefits, et cetera, but also lobbying for them as well, and there's no way to kind of chain up that system. The government goes haywire. It starts spending out of control. Things go crazy, and then the bureaucracy ultimately will balkanize as well. And so that's why he made an argument that you have to keep the democratic system chained up in such a way that allows it, because democracy unchained ends up destroying democracy more or less.
Well, let's unchain democracy then.
What? No, I say we keep. No, I say no. Okay. What I mean is, like for democracy to work, it needs to be kept in chains, and it is currently not in chains.
Sure.
However, here's my controversial belief. That's the thing I believe with capitalism. I believe it's unchained capitalism
I don't
that has led to the rise of corporations.
I don't necessarily disagree with that either. I say too much capitalism can destroy capitalism too. I know Menger definitely disagrees with me on this. I mean,
here's the thing. If the system that I suspect Strange is talking about, if you just want to call that capitalism, I'm fine with that. I totally agree. That is based in kind of like the government giving all of these subsidies, and it is unchanged. It is very, very destructive. I generally, what I like, I don't call capitalism, because most people think of capitalism out as what Strange is describing, not what I would describe it as.
I use the term liberalism. Like
You know what
I say
free
I
market-
say
I am-
free
I am
markets are
fine-
liberalism.
I am fine with capitalism as long as in my words, I'll say it stays in its lane. What
The
I think,
problem-
honestly, is my ideal world, and maybe
government
this
needs to
isn't,
stay in its lane too, though.
maybe this isn't achievable yet, but is one where, sure, we can have markets and we can have a free market and stuff, but it's not for everything. We can guarantee people certain basic necessities, things like food, water, shelter, not necessarily amazing top tier of all of them, but we can provide them those basics, and so they don't need to worry about literally surviving. And then guess what? If those people don't need to worry about surviving, whatever money they make, they can invest directly back into the economy instead of pouring it back into paying off endless
Okay.
I've got a
loans.
question for you.
First
there.
of all,
Why do you think that providing something through the government means that it guarantees it?
It doesn't guarantee it, but my view is it's better than doing nothing.
first of all, okay, that's the problem. Is I'm not saying you're hypocritical, but it's the hypocrisy of the two things that you just said. You, with the complaints about capitalism, which are completely valid, capitalism, how it is right now, is completely bullshit. But the reason for that is the inability of people to get into the system because of overregulation and red tape, because of the government, okay, because of licenses and all this bullshit that costs so much that only the big companies can afford it. That's how monopolies happen. That's how corporatism happens.
Yeah.
And then
If the market-
then you turn around and say, okay, we want the free market, but we just have to make sure the government makes sure everything's kosher. That's not going to change anything. That's just corporatism again. Okay.
Yeah.
Look,
So
I'm
the
not
free
saying
market can
I'm
decide.
Look, I honestly think we need to simplify taxes. I will be honest about that. I'm not necessarily sure what they would end up being. I think if you simplified them, you could probably end up having them much lower, because if you simplified them and make sure people actually goddamn paid them, then you probably wouldn't need to tax at such high rates, so that only the people who have the fuck tons of lawyers can afford to dodge those taxes.
Or you could have people provide for themselves, because it's not really that hard to provide for yourself and to do something that someone wants you to do, and they'll pay you money, and to rent someplace to live. It's really not that hard, and thinking that it's that hard is what causes all this, like, just wanting welfare and wanting free shit bullshit. Okay, like,
Tell me, where do you
that's
tell
what
me?
that's what makes taxes so high, is because everyone wants free shit. Just work. Just
You know,
work hard.
just like,
It's not that difficult.
You know, it's
Hey,
funny.
hey,
We have record low unemployment, yet all of this hasn't
What?
gone away. What I'm saying, you know,
Okay,
one
okay.
thing we could do-
Unemployment is people looking
No,
for work.
we have record low.
high.
We have record low people
low.
looking for work. We have a high amount of people not working. There's a difference.
Okay,
If you look
sure.
up how
Sure.
the government
Most people are on
determines
their insurance.
unemployment.
But you know what the thing is with that is that means only that many people are on unemployment anyway. Here's what I think about all of it is, a lot of it is, I don't think unemployment is the big issue. I think the big issue is underemployment, because you know what the thing is I'll admit, I was born in with a lot of privilege. I have a cushion. You know what part of that means is? That means after college, I don't need to worry about that crippling debt coming down on me. I don't need to take the first job I need to. I could wait until I get that dream job I want, even if that takes 1, 2, 3 years. Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay,
I'll be able to wait.
So the civil
right
war.
However, if you need to,
So right now, guys, I am going to veer us back to the topic of the Civil War, particular the quote unquote Boogaloo right there. We're going to go back to the SPLC article, and then we're going to look at an article from NPR. And with the NPR one, we're just going to finish what we were starting about 15 minutes ago. It's my fault we went off topic, but we should really get back there. But I think we did have I think it was insightful. For the most part, when we were discussing the gun control issue with the Great Society and all of that, and I remember I was going to add back when we were talking about that, how back in the 70s, like, you did have the Black Panthers went out and bought guns in California, and then California, I think it was the Republicans actually. Oh shit! And then they ended up putting the gun control. But anyway, yeah, we pretty much mentioned that. But now, so we're talking about we're down to the Boogaloo arrests now on the SPLC page. Others associated with the Boogaloo movement also been arrested in recent months. Again, they're not citing it. All had the same focus on anti-government attacks, as if anti-government is a bad thing, and fomenting a civil war. Are they fomenting the civil war? You decide. Even if the targets and methods varied. Yeah, I will say it again. I'm just going to say it one more time. They're just saying things. They're not. There are no citations. They're being vague, and because it is the SPLC, which is technically a legacy institution, they're expecting that people are going to completely buy this bullshit. And
Well, yeah, and that's the crazy thing is they're saying like, oh, they wanted to do this and they had this goal. Did they interview them? Like, where are they getting this? Is this just conjecture? Like, yeah, what is this?
So we have so we're gonna click on this, the Boogaloo movement. It's probably gonna take them to their hate group section right there. Oh, the Boogaloo movement. Boogaloo started as a racist meme.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
So first of all,
Was anyone there when
Boogaloo
it
was
started?
around way before George Floyd.
I didn't even know fucking Boogaloo was what the fuck? It's a thing?
Oh yeah, it's a big thing.
Okay, so
Fuck. Damn.
I just want to just say one thing. It did start like on 4chan, and it definitely was a racist meme. But the thing is, okay.
No, they kind of.
The thing is,
they kind of.
it was not widespread at all. So you can say that word was associated with a racist meme if you want, but it didn't become widespread until it became an anti-government meme and not a racist meme. That's when it blew up. So
yeah, my
it doesn't matter what it started.
It did start as an anti-government thing, and then kind of 4chan and all of that took it into a racist thing, and then it kind of got into the both of those two sides kind of grew it into their own things. So it can kind of refer to both.
And then I love the Hawaiian shirt aspect. Like that reminds me of the OK symbol. Right
Yeah.
there.
Okay, I'm putting on my Hawaiian shirt for the rest of this episode here. Got it right by me.
But I wish I even. I might have a Hawaiian shirt lying around here. So. No, but anyway, I thought it was kind of funny actually. So after the whole Hawaiian shirt thing came out, and they started like circling that around that talking point about how it's a racist dog whistle. So he never said anything about it in any of his videos, but Styx Hexenhammer just started wearing a Hawaiian shirt for all of his videos. But, yeah, I don't know. Are you guys familiar with him?
Never heard of him.
No.
Oh, okay. No, he's a YouTuber. Anyway, I would think that Menger and Rooster would at least know who he is. But,
You
say
guys
his name again.
You guys would hate the political YouTubers I watch, so
who you watch? I'm guessing you watch like Kyle Kalinske. And
Thought
I literally thought slime. Yep.
Yep. I'm in that
God.
Discord.
You mean Thought Slime?
Vouch.
No, Vouch.
No, I don't.
Vouch is literally a dumb.
No, I
He's
don't watch.
literally-
I don't watch Vouch.
Vouch literally has downs.
Vouch literally. Whoa.
No,
Vouch-
the only other person I really watch is
Strength check.
Twitch streamer. I watch Hassan Piker. So
You watch Hassan Piker unironically?
yeah,
Unironically, dude, he's a grifter.
Threw up in
He's
my
like-
mouth.
He's like the left wing Dave Rubin.
Okay.
bro. At this point, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm getting to like the edgy political territory. I'm at the
That's
edgy.
not
left.
edgy. It's just cringy.
Yeah,
There's a difference.
the fact that you said edgy is just perfect. Just
Vouch
primo.
I need to
literally
send you my
The thing is,
meme
no,
folder,
the
man.
thing
if
is,
you- if you
Dave
think that's
Rubin
it.
and Hassan Piker, they're not edgy. They're cringy. There's a difference. There's a stark difference. Edgy would be like
Your
would
view
you-
of
would you say that-
your view of cringy, I guess, is different than
No,
mine.
would you argue that Jimmy Dore would you consider him on the edge of edgy?
I don't know who Jimmy Dore is.
I mean, I was
Okay,
supposed to be talking to
there
the
are
other guys.
only two qualities. Some things are cringe, some things are based. Jimmy Dore's pretty fucking based.
Jimmy Dore is pretty base. I like Jimmy. But honestly, I can take.
and I respect
I
your
can take.
opinions,
I
but
also enjoy Kyle Kalinske, even though I disagree with him on pretty much everything. Like pretty much everything.
Yeah, I don't know anything about
Wait,
him.
where's did we lose somebody?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
TRC had to leave.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Also,
no.
yo, it's
When did he
thanks.
leave?
No,
Oh yeah.
I literally I don't even. I watch Hassan Piker for entertainment. I don't really watch him for political insight. Well, the reason I like him personally, he's the one who's turning Twitch left wing, and I fucking like that. Why do you think I'm on Twitch?
Yeah. I don't know if. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, anyway.
We finally have our popular figure, at least.
It's really Hassan Piker. There are so many better. Why not Jimmy Dore? Even Kyle Kalinske would be better than Hassan Piker. I mean, Hassan isn't as bad as Chank. But just that name, Chank. Chank.
It doesn't
Chank.
matter.
Chunky
Hassan-
Chank.
Chapo Trap
A,
House.
I
Hell
don't
yeah,
watch.
brother.
I don't
Chapo's
watch a
okay.
lot of
You know, see,
YouTube.
I don't like Chapo, but I can respect them, and they're also fucking hilarious.
I don't watch YouTube to inform
Oh my
myself. I
God.
watch YouTube to entertain.
Yeah.
Is that one? That's
Yeah,
one
I get that.
thing.
Can you hear me
And
now?
also
Oh, he's back.
with on the
Yeah, no, okay, let's see.
with Hassan Piker, I just want to finish this last point. With Hassan
Okay.
Piker, it doesn't matter if there's others better than him that have better ideas than him. With what I think about it, he's the most influential, and right now this is all just a game of influence.
That is kind
No,
of
here's
He's
the thing.
winning,
That-
and he's
It's about
and he is
ideas and
winning.
principles.
guys, one at a time.
and he
one at
is
a time.
he is winning the game of influence. Like you said, you called him you called him the left Rush Limbaugh.
No, the
well,
left.
fuck
no,
it,
the,
the
left-
Rush-
no, the left wing Dave Rubin.
Oh, Dave Rubin, I guess. But guess what? He's doing well to popularize leftism.
I mean, Rubin did this. I mean, he kind of. You know what? Yeah, Dave is kind of the same way.
Only
Anyway,
10 years ago, even saying socialism was like a demon word.
It still kind of is.
Not anymore. Nope.
I mean,
wouldn't
yeah,
say
I think
so.
that Bernie pretty much mainstreamed that.
As long as it's
acceptance.
democratic.
God bless Bernie Sanders.
Bernie's just confusing people even more because what he's advocating for is a form of is like a more radical form of social democracy. He's not technically he does not. I mean, he might want to deep down, but in terms of his pragmatic beliefs, he does not want to seize the means of production and nationalize absolutely everything.
Yeah,
Well,
he just wants
yeah.
the government
Well,
to
that's-
control everything.
He's
what's problem
socialist
with
in the
that?
same way.
That's not socialist.
Hey, the right cafe, or is your mic working?
I think they're muted right now.
Oh, I think he's
He
trying
says,
to.
"Can
he's
anyone
trying to,
hear me?"
he's trying, I think he's
Can you hear
trying
me
to,
now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now, man.
Well, apparently, Vouch, unironically, if you watch him, you're a horrible human being. He said in the private Discord chat, a friend that he had dreams about raping the children of capitalists.
No, he's a pedo. He's,
Again,
Uh,
I've never heard of Vouch,
Bro.
and B, I wouldn't support anyone who's fucking that deranged.
and okay, so I think he was talking about. I don't think it was in terms. I think this was longer. This was like 6 months ago. I thought it was for a second. I thought it had to do with the cuties thing. However,
He also wants to lower the age of consent.
he does, and he was also arguing it on the grounds of Aristotelian virtue ethics, which is
Oh wait. Well,
hilarious.
okay. I kind of want to hear that argument. No,
Okay,
like,
about the
how- 'cause
Civil
that's
War that
so-
we were focusing on,
so
I finally
bizarre.
finished my map. I finished my. It's some
Oh, yeah?
parts of it are left blank, but I decided to make the blank parts of it a mystery, as in I don't know which way they would go.
Okay, so we can do that as soon as we finish going over the.
Yeah,
This-
listen to the NPR.
thing right here. Well, yeah, well, we'll finish this one right here on the SPLC. Or
Also, last chance, it's advertising, by the way. I plan on making money.
anyway, so he says, you have this Boogaloo boy from Fort Collins, Colorado, told the station that Bun was one of their boys. Okay, they're still not. So okay, they might be citing. Okay, they're citing a local. Okay, at least they're citing something there. Self-proclaimed Boogaloo boy from Bowie County, Texas, was arrested in April. Police said Aaron Swenson was charged with making a terroristic threat. Okay, police said Aaron Swenson was okay. First of all, they're citing themselves. Second of all, the police can say whatever the fuck they want. Like, can we be real here? Like, this whole like it seems like they're kind of contradicting their narrative here, especially because I'm pretty sure the SPLC is probably on. I'm guessing that they're on the sort of defund the police bandwagon. Yet they're also trusting the veracity of a police officer's words because it strengthens their argument.
Yeah,
Like,
I highly doubt that they would actually want to get on the defund the police.
I mean, speaking colloquially, like that's
Sure.
basically that's where they.
I mean, yeah, they're very left wing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, last chance. I agree. Support the Socialist Rifle Organization.
I can respect the Socialist Rifle Organization. I can respect them.
Until you see them actually like handle weapons, then you're like, oh, my bad.
Yeah. Also, can we also agree that the NRA isn't actually a? They're not actually
losers.
Yeah, they're not even
pro-gun.
they're not a good gun or they're not a good pro-gun organization.
I
Fuck
think
them.
that they may actually be a literal limited federal agent limited hangout at this point.
Literal
They're-
spooks.
They're I think they actually might be.
Oh no,
'Cause-
the NRA, in my opinion, are just a bunch of corporate puppets that exist to sell more guns to the American public. Ironically, we might have less of a not much less, but a little less of a problem with the military-industrial complex if people could sell their guns to each other and didn't need to buy new ones more.
Oh, but that limits the government's monopoly on violence, guys. That can't ever happen.
Yeah. The NRA is totally cool with selling more single shot hunting rifles and shotguns, not
I
with
just want
full
my
auto.
I just want my
Sell
fucking,
me a
my
tank.
fucking review,
Yeah.
guys. No, but okay. So, but yeah, I think I mean
we
we
could
pretty much
theoretically
get
buy
what
one
the,
that had $80 million for a tank.
hey guys, symbolic targets. Sorry, do I have a bit of an echo?
A little bit, but it's
Okay. Okay. No, now symbolic targets. The choice of a bureau in land management station brought the trio arrested recently. I like Boogaloo with some racist roots. Now they're saying some racist roots that focuses on inciting violent conflicts with government authorities. Has made multiple. It seems like they keep restating the same thing in different ways, and the ways in which they keep restating it are completely different things.
Yeah.
It's just okay. Does anybody know any actual like Boogalooers?
Oh yeah. I've definitely interacted with.
Of
them
course I
a
know
whole
them.
lot. Yeah.
Okay, can you explain what
I
they are
didn't know
actually
that.
like? Do you think you can actually explain what they're like just
All right.
to the audience?
There are basically three different groups. There are literal just racists who kind of won a race war and kind of took this term, and they're awful. I don't have any relations with them. Then there are sort of the Boogaloo boys that I interact with, who view this as either a insurrection against the federal government or a conflict that will inevitably arise with stricter gun laws.
Yes.
Something that they will, if that happens, they say, okay, we're going to organize then, and we will not let these things happen. If you try to actually start taking stuff, then we will not let that happen. And then there's kind of a third group which sometimes uses the term, but I don't think they would in general call themselves Boogaloo boys. And that's just gun people who are sometimes like preppers, or they just really like 3D printing guys, or that whole group, which sometimes use the term and do a lot of the memes, but they're not really Boogaloo boys.
One thing I will add is I agree with everything you're saying. I'll say that the first one, the racist bullshit one, I swear that is such a tiny percentage of people who call themselves Boogaloo boys.
Yeah.
That it's like almost non-existent, but I will give you that. The other two,
there are
spot on,
it's definitely
but they're
minority.
I think that what's lost is that a lot of Boogalooers aren't really like interested in violence. They're not even interested in like violence against the state or like violent insurrection. They're more just like, I'm gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna do shit about it, but I'm also gonna
like aren't a lot
collect
of them,
rainwater and grow my own garden,
Yeah.
and that's what makes me a Boogaloo boy.
Yeah,
like
they're not active revolutionaries. They're just saying, "Come and take it."
They're just doomers.
not even coming.
They're basically
Okay,
they're basically doomers.
let
right?
like living their lives. Like It's not all violence. That's all I just want to put out there.
So would you describe them maybe as doomers?
Absolutely not. No.
No, I think doomers are like black-pilled people. They don't care. It's all, you know.
I think Boogaloo boys are the ones who, like, the true believers. You know, like,
Okay.
if as a kind of a weird example, the way I describe it is the Taliban or ISIS. You know, who just like they are the true believers. When you go over there, you are never going to change their mind. You're never going to like convince them otherwise that their way is right. And like that's what Boogaloo is. It's you are never going to convince us that we don't deserve absolute freedom.
Okay.
And
You heard it here first. Boogaloo
So,
Yeah.
is just
so wait, are you telling me
don't quote me that we're
Wait,
terrorists.
It
but it's just
sounds like what you're
Wait, are
saying.
you telling me that the
go to
Boogaloo
war.
boys aren't actually fascists?
absolutely, yeah.
No
Absolutely
offense,
not.
no
We're
offense.
all about
No offense.
frickin' just. You are never going to change our mind. We're not doomers. We are hopeful. We're the ones who have seen the evidence that what we're going to do or what's going to come about is going to fail and it's just going to lead to authoritarianism. But we also had to say, well, what's the other option? You know, we might as well try. That's kind of the Boogaloo thing. It's like we might as well try and preserve freedom. We might as well try and believe in it. And maybe other people will too, and enough other people will too, and then maybe, you know, maybe we will have freedom. And that's what we think.
All right. So next, let's move on to the NPR article. Now, I think we've I think would you agree we've all had enough of the SPLC for one day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, I need to go to. Hold on. To go to that article. NPR, and you see, I actually I still kind of respect NPR, because I mean, they're one of the least kind of partisan by comparison as it relates to legacy media. However, I do think PBS is better personally.
Yeah, they're
But,
not partisan, but they're pushing the pure government agenda.
Yeah.
Well,
Whether-
they
I
are a
mean,
government organization. I will agree with what he said, though. Like, of
I do-
those, I would agree with what he said.
I do think PBS is better though personally.
I don't know. I feel like they're pretty much the same.
Okay. Okay. So this looks like a soundbite.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a transcript. Should we listen to it? Maybe.
If that
Yeah.
works over for the overlay,
Yeah.
I
Let's
don't know.
let's listen to it instead.
Yeah.
Hey, NPR. Up first is the news you need to start your morning. The three biggest stories of the day with reporting and analysis from NPR News.
Oh, boy.
Tap the button below to listen now. Support for Up First and NPR come from 3M. Learn how 3M is helping the world respond to COVID-19 at 3m.com/COVID. 3M Science, applied to life.
Now, the story about the strange journey of a word that's popular in far-right corners of the internet.
Far
Word
right.
Boogaloo.
No
Yours,
way.
Hannah Alam tells us more.
In 1965, this song by Tom and Jerry-O was a hit. It sold 1 million records. It also introduced
The
America
music
to
style has
a new word,
nothing to do
Boogaloo.
with the movie. Just by the way.
Boogaloo emerged as a mashup of Black and Latin American influences. Some 50 years later, the word is still part of American pop culture, but with a very different meaning. It once represented a fusion of people and cultures. Now it refers to their coming apart, civil war, in some quarters, a race war.
All right, so we're hot. We're live. We're talking Boogaloo tactics, right?
Boogaloo tactics.
Boogaloo.
How did the word end up on the YouTube channels of armed and angry white guys? Boogaloo began as a sound and a dance. It bounced around from New York Spanish Harlem to R&B artists in Chicago and other cities. James Brown brought it to new audiences.
Boogaloo is probably one of the hardest dances in the world. I used to get dizzy.
I don't even care about the
Over
history
the
of
decades,
Boogaloo
the word
music.
came
I just
in
Well, a
and out
lot
of
of this isn't real. My
But it wasn't
understanding
until
is that
1984
it
that
was
Boogaloo,
just
or at least the way
it
we
didn't
think
have
of
a
it now,
conversation
had
through
its
music. It was just like
defining
a fun
moment.
sound they used. That's yeah. I can't really verify that, but yeah, that's my understanding is that it was just like, oh, that's a word. It didn't really have anything to do with break into until after it was already used for the word that we're associating it as.
Thanks to a movie. Actually, the sequel to a movie about breakdancing.
Electric Boogaloo, the ultimate show with Kelly, Ozone, and Turbo. Electric Boogaloo is breakdance too.
Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, was a dud. It was so bad, it became a cult classic. The title has evolved into a meme, a sarcastic way to describe any unwanted sequel. And not just for movies. You now hear it in politics and sports. Most importantly, for the spread of the meme, it took root among gamers.
Hey folks, welcome back to Aspiring Gaming and welcome back to Patrol Memes 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Today, Boogaloo has seeped
I thought
out
that
of
was
the
Ray
gaming
for a
community
second.
and found fertile ground in militant fringe movements. That includes anarchists and others on the far left. It is especially popular among right-wing militias and self-described patriot.
I feel like that's one of the things. People automatically assume anarchy is exclusive to the far left. I mean, leftists pretend like it is. Like they perpetuate that narrative.
No,
but,
they
like,
don't.
Yeah, they think of the Cold War bomb
or
throwers.
right.
No,
You can
I've
have
seen plenty of.
ANCOMs
I've seen
and
plenty of
Do you
people. on the
know
left who are
how
like, oh,
many
yeah.
motherfucking ANCOMs there are? There are so many goddamn.
too
No,
many.
you don't.
Alright,
No, I don't think
chill.
you heard what I said.
Anarchism, if you understand what it is, it's not left or right. That's the point.
No, what I said was there's a lot of left-wing anarchists who pretend like anarchy can only be left-wing. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anarchy, you can have,
Which is
you can
fair
have-
because
you can
that's
have fucking
it started
anarchists,
with
man. You can have
leftists.
fucking
And
anarcho-centrists.
dude, if you
Michael Malice
only
would be
spent
an
your time in
anarcho-centrist.
right-wing anarchist groups, you would be saying, dude, there is so many ANCAPs. ANCOMs aren't even a thing. Blah blah blah. Like, it just depends on where you spend your time. Like, it's not that one or the
No,
other
I
doesn't
acknowledge that
exist.
I acknowledge there are both ANCOMs and ANCAPs. I know
I'm
that
referring
both
to the no true
exist.
Scotsman. Like, you have a lot of ANCOMs who are like, oh yeah, ANCAPs aren't true anarchists, and then you have a lot of ANCAPs on the on the contrary who say, oh yeah, ANCOMs aren't true anarchists, and it's like, I mean, there are just different kinds of anarchy. It's just all no true Scotsman right there.
As long as you're against the state, that's what makes you an anarchist, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how flawed your model is.
If you want to live a certain way or a certain other way, that doesn't even compute into what kind of, like, whether or not you're an anarchist. All that matters is that you're not willing to inflict violence on others.
No, that's why I'm a fan of covenant communities. If any of you guys are familiar with covenant communities.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a positive in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been reading a little Hoppo lately, so. But yeah. Anyway, so we'll get back to the that cringe.
Describe patriot groups. In dozens of YouTube videos, they promise armed rebellion if the government tries to take their guns, a civil war, or Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo.
So many people are saying that the Boogaloo is about to kick off in Virginia.
When the Boogaloo happens, these are the people that you're going to have to watch out for.
Do not think for 1 second that there aren't people that would love to see this thing to get started, that would love to see this Boogaloo start rolling. Personally, I do not want to see that. I don't want it to come to that.
The same fun
Okay,
word,
Cicero.
a chilling new context.
And that's what makes it, I think, particularly insidious, is the use and co-opting of, pop culture in order to make extremist points.
That's
Pop
more
culture
insidious
belongs to
than the
everybody.
Anti-Defamation
Let's just
League.
all agree on
The
that.
ADL
You
just
can use it
released
for
a
whatever.
report about the spread of Boogaloo. With far-right violence on the rise, Siegel says, it's time to look closer at how extremists use pop culture to communicate.
It helps the message spread. It helps people maybe who are sort of on the margins, want to explore. And so
Did
it's
someone say
really
margin?
weaponizing language as a way to try to reach and recruit people into the movement.
YouTube videos with snarky Boogaloo titles often include advice on firearms and tactics.
Like this
For a
video,
subset of
guys.
the far right, the fringe of the fringe, civil war isn't enough. They're spoiling for a race war.
Being
Decades
anti-government
later,
is so
Boogaloo is
extremist
no
and
longer
violent,
about
you know,
music,
like
but about
I can't
menace.
tell you how many Boogaloo boys have drone striked Middle Eastern countries and nuked Japan, you know. Us Boogaloo boys, we're the fucking violent ones, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. How many
Being anti-government, the government's not violent. That's for sure.
Out of curiosity, how many nukes? Have you
fucking
guys
liberals.
How many Pakistani grandmas have Boogaloos killed?
Yeah. How many drone strikes have you guys ordered? Personally,
Oh
just
man,
personally, how many drone
that
strikes?
Moab that was dropped in Iraq a year ago. I'm pretty sure that was the Boogaloo boys. We got an AC-130,
you know that
we dropped
Yemeni
that
school
shit.
bus? I heard that was Richard Spencer.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? That Sargon of Akkad recently. He recently had sent a bunch of napalm gas on the Vietnamese people.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow.
killed millions.
That was actually the Boogaloo boys.
It was the
My
Boogaloo boys.
understanding
Carter,
is that Stefan Molyneux is actually 90% of his drone strikes killed civilians and targeted them. Civilians.
Damn. Fuck Stefan Molyneux then. Fuck him.
Yeah, Stefan Molyneux, man.
Did you guys hear?
I hope he
that,
doesn't win a
did you guys
Nobel
hear that-
Peace Prize.
Did you guys hear that?
that
Alex,
would be.
Did you guys hear
There's
that?
no way
Alex
that could
Jones-
happen.
Did you hear that Alex Jones just took a machine gun and flew into Iraq and single-handedly just gunned down a bunch of poor Middle Eastern fellahin farmers in the fields and slaughtered entire villages?
Poor
the
Alex
Boogaloo
Jones.
boys gave
He may
hundreds
have-
of
yo.
the
he may
Boogaloo
have
boys
got-
gave hundreds
yo,
of millions of dollars to Saudi Arabia so they could go to war with Yemen. That was fucking bullshit. Can't believe they did that.
Jones may have gotten lost in the sauce, but god damn it, was he always fucking hilarious.
No, Jones is hilarious. No, did you see when he brought in llamas to the studio?
Dude, the llama clip. I dream about that. That all I want in life is to get to a place where I can just surround myself with llamas and spread conspiracy theories. That's all I
Honestly,
want.
I would have a beer with Alex Jones, unironically.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I would have
Okay,
a glass
so-
of super male vitality with him.
Okay, so we're going to finish the last. We need to get through the last few seconds of this.
Dude, I just want to be a successful e-beggar, aka Twitch streamer.
Just start an OnlyFans.
I'd need to go to the
A
gym.
word coined by black and brown people, now used by some who envision a country without them. Hannah Alam, NPR News, Washington.
That's everything that was just said was true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the big problem: is it is factually correct that the Boogaloo boys are largely white men, right? That is true.
There
That
are a lot of,
doesn't-
aren't there a lot of BLM people though, or at
There
least
are a lot of
number
BLM, and
who are
you know,
in
like the
Boogaloo?
Black Panthers have a lot of similar views. But so when someone like NPR sees that, the easiest thing the easiest way to attack that is to say, okay, it's all these white men, they must be racist. This must be a racist group. And
Also, the Kyle Rittenhouse thing too, and the Jake Gardner
yes,
thing.
exactly.
It's like
perfect.
no, because that if you're defending yourself or your property from somebody who just so happens to not be white, they will label you a white supremacist. Like if I was in that position, they would label me. They would label Will, Will is definitely by far the most left-wing person, one of the most left-wing people who has ever appeared on this show. They would label him as a white supremacist too.
Yeah.
If he was defending himself at his property, he would be morally in the right to do.
Yeah, because that
and then they destroy his life and make him.
Their leftists very familiar with that. They're just
They destroy his life and make him get
There are
charged, even
lines-
though he wasn't get charged at first, and then make him kill himself.
But can we also
Fucking
agree
lefties.
that,
There
can we
are
also agree that
lines.
the people who
There
are
are
pulling-
lines that you don't cross, though. So you have to be fucking careful, bro. You have to fucking suck the dick of your corporate overlords until your teeth finally grow back in and you can bite its cock off.
Spoken like a true leftist.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't see you as much of an ANCOM as much as I see you as a left-wing populist.
In a way, kinda, yeah.
I don't know. I see you more as like a Bernie Warren type who's just like who flirts with revolution?
It depends. The thing is that my political views are mostly shaped by the fact that I think we could do a lot better. And I know a lot of them are extremely idealistic.
You're
put
a
it that way.
You're a utopian pessimist. That's the best way maybe to describe you.
Yeah, kind of, honestly. I honestly think we're capable of achieving something that wouldn't be utopia. There'd still be fucking issues and problems, but that would be a lot fucking better. I just don't think we fucking will.
Fair enough. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. At this point, I just think we're okay. So we did the NPR thing. Hey, the Right Cafe, you still there? Your mic still?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna go to bed in maybe like 20,
Yeah, that's
30
fine.
minutes.
Well, we will look. So that's why we will look over your map right now, so you can explain it to us. Yeah,
I posted
got
the
it.
link in the chat.
I couldn't click on it. I was trying to, but maybe I'm bad.
So I'm trying to, and it is a blank screen. Is it the first one? Oh, okay, that's why.
The second one.
This is okay. This is really interesting. What's up with Minnesota here?
Well, the thing about Minnesota is that area. I had a weird glitch where it wouldn't allow me to like put yellow in certain places. The area in Minnesota up there is the traditionally Democratic Iron Range. It's sort of a rural area with places like Duluth and the yellow is supposed to represent sort of urban or ex-urban areas that would sort of serve as battlegrounds because they're surrounded by blue areas. Or are blue areas themselves surrounded by red areas? If you're wondering what the other places are, there's Spokane, Washington, Washoe County, aka Reno, Nevada, Las Vegas, the Los Angeles metropolitan area.
Oh shit, I forgot to mute myself. My bad.
Okay, I'm
folks.
sorry. You continue.
Oh.
Now, if you're wondering what the green is, basically there's a political secessionist movement in California, Oregon, and Washington, which seek to join the state of Idaho. The basic point is Portland and Seattle basically dominate those two nations' politics, and California will never be saved. So you might as well leave your state and join Idaho. That actually is on the ballot in like all three states, like 24 counties. The reason why the gray counties are gray is because I didn't have the time to try to think of them. So with the League secessionists of the South, this might seem like a LARP, but literally, like a year ago, a guy from, I think, Mississippi introduced a bill that would essentially create an interstate military compact of southern states. And I think it was over gun rights. Now, the holdouts are basically areas of the country that could sort of join rebels if there was a large enough push for it, or they could stay in the loyal camp. And the other urban battlegrounds are places like Kenosha, Macomb County, Michigan, the urban areas of North Carolina, some of the ex-urban areas of Philadelphia. I forgot to put maybe areas like Duval County or Tarrant County, Texas. So yeah, if you want to comment, you can go ahead.
Also, Ray, if you're somehow still here, to answer your question, Kamala Harris was a prosecutor and not exactly a good prosecutor. Morally speaking, I guess. Also, I'm sorry, I need to head out. Peace out, folks. Yeah.
Where are you off to?
I gotta just get to bed early
You're too fucking high, aren't you?
Oh my god.
Partially, maybe.
Who sleeps?
Yeah, so you can sleep when you're dead.
Goddamn right.
Yeah, I tried that for a while. It just doesn't work too well, I guess. Anyway, peace.
All right, see ya.
So I'll just comment. I don't want to nitpick too much, But yeah, I would definitely just say like it needs a little more time. Like Atlanta is not even in there. Like
the reason why
I
know Harris County, Texas is another example. The reason why I'm not including places like Harris County, Texas is because they're geographically isolated.
Yeah. So I'll just say like I mean it looks you put a lot of work in and definitely it looks legit. But yeah, I'll just say like definitely try and get those gray areas not gray and like maybe add a couple cities that like Atlanta would definitely be
Well, I'm trying
blue.
to, but the thing is, for some reason, whenever I add something, no matter the color, it turns to gray, and I don't know
So
why.
wait. Do you really think that that Virginia and DC and Maryland would be part of a rebel faction?
No,
Yeah,
well,
that's my
look at
question.
the
Who are the rebels here? and
Look
who's
at the two colors; they're
um,
slightly different.
Yeah,
It looks like the
are
loyalists are on the
Virginia-
left and the rebels are on
Virginia
the
would
right.
Virginia would definitely be with Washington.
The
100%.
loyalist areas
Even if it starts there, just because of its proximity, not just because it's predominantly blue in terms of voting, but just because of its proximity to Washington D.C. The fact that the CIA and the Pentagon are located in Virginia, literally 20 minutes away from my house. I just doxed myself. I don't give a shit. But
wait, you work for the CIA? Wait,
no.
what?
They're like a 30-minute drive from my house. It's a 30-minute drive from my house.
Why do you live so close, bud? This is getting a little suspicious.
Because my family works for the military industrial complex.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a oof.
So yeah,
Sorry,
so my life. So my very privileged childhood is brought to you by war.
Why I'm saying Virginia would be okay. So if you look at it, the dark blue. There's a difference between dark blue and purple. The rebel factions are like darkish blue purple, while the loyalists are like dark blue. And you see the difference?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Well, the reason why was the whole Second Amendment sanctuary thing that was happening in Virginia, and basically there were entire sheriff's departments who were telling the governor, "Fuck you! We are not going to enforce your laws. You can arrest."
Hell yeah!
And some of the sheriffs are even saying, "Arrest me. Go ahead."
Hell yeah!
And the thing is, 91 out of the 95 counties literally passed resolutions where the government was like, "We are not going to help you. We are going to get in your way."
Hell yes! Fuck the government.
Amen.
I think we all agree for different reasons. I mean, I know that the Right Cafe agrees with that statement for different reasons, but at least we can all agree. Fuck.
It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We can all agree on that. Anyway, so back to the idea of it, whether it being state versus state. Like, does anybody here think that there is a potential scenario in which it would be literal state versus?
I don't even think it would be like county versus county or neighborhood versus neighborhood. I think it would just be people like with making their decisions, and honestly, the majority of people would make their decision as stay out of it, you know. But there would be people that would be like, I am on the side of the government, or I am on the side of freedom.
Decentralized civil war. If you just have a bunch of pocket cells everywhere, it's not going to be nearly as effective as
no. Okay, which wars have America won? The U.S. government in America, and which wars has it lost? Let me answer that for you. Every war it's lost has been a guerrilla war or an insurgency. Every war it's won has been centralized.
The reason the government has the monopoly on violence.
The Viet Cong weren't just a bunch of civilians. They actually
think they do.
They had a government of some sort. I don't think you would just see street violence out of the blue leading into a Boogaloo. I think I think at the very you need some sort of structured ability to raise troops to levy.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, this is
why Japan didn't invade the U.S. because we have a rifle behind every blade of grass.
Well,
that's what they said. That's
why the U.S. was the
guerrilla warfare in the U.S. would be a billion times Iraq or Vietnam because we have a rifle. We don't need rifles from anyone. We have
the
guns.
thing is, if it's just a bunch of people, what will their intention be? Who will lead them? You cannot.
There's 200 million of them. If their intention is the government is infringing on me and trying to tell me what to do, and I want to kill them, the government's going to die. That's just a fact. There's nothing they can do about it. They know that.
But how many of them actually believe that? How many of that are actually going to lay down their lives for that principle?
It depends. Right now, a small percentage. That's why nothing's happening. But it keeps going further and further and further and further, and the percentage increases and increases and increases, and then it will get to a point where something happens, and then the government responds overwhelmingly, like they do, and people will be like, "Hey, that's kind of fucked up," and then it'll happen over and over and over again, and then more and more people will be like, "You know what? This is fucked up. I have this AR in my gun locker that I only use to fucking plink at targets. Maybe I should grab it and go shoot a cop."
Yeah, that's why I think that this isn't realistic, because as much as I would like it if that the conflict we're talking about and the conflict that's likely to happen would be an insurrection or an overthrow of the government, that's not going to happen. The conflict that is brewing is not libertarians versus the government. The conflict that is brewing is progressives versus conservatives.
That conflict would be over in a day. That conflict wouldn't exist.
Are you sure though? Was the military?
How is it over in a day? It's going on
I don't know.
right
I think
now.
it's,
We've got
I think
riots
it's
in
more
every major
nuanced.
city.
I think it's more nuanced than both of that. I don't think it's going to be even very clear cut, because
I'm not saying it's clear cut.
It's not going to be left versus right, especially because you have a lot of people on. You have certain right wing elements that generally tend to side with some left wing element, especially the managerial class. Like, you guys all know about the managerial class, right? Like, you have the Mitt Romney, John McCain right, and the Hillary Clinton,
Joe Biden.
I can't believe I forgot his name. Joe Biden left.
He forgot his name.
Yeah,
But then you also have the Bernie Sanders AOC left, and then you also have the
Tucker Carlson.
the Tucker Carlson Donald Trump right. I honestly think that the Tucker Carlson Donald Trump right would be more likely to side with the Bernie Sanders AOC left.
Yeah, I agree, and that's
it's going to be centrists versus non-centrists.
Yeah, and because of that, I don't think it's going to happen, because the right are for what you just mentioned. It also, because as Michael Mouse says, conservatism is progressivism driving people.
Yeah, that really even goes back to Edmund Burke, who the idea of conservatism was originally defined as gradual incrementalism in reformism. Preserving
people are going to forget all about.
And so because of that, the right
in a scenario,
conservatism has always been a form of liberalism.
In a scenario, okay, in a scenario that the Boogaloo would come about, people are going to forget all about right, left, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. They're going to think about what are their beliefs. They're going to think about that again.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to hear.
I don't understand how we get from
what is the argument besides conservative and liberal and Republican and Democrat, because that's all I'm hearing right now, and I don't think it applies.
The right is.
Do you think that every fucking Viet Cong? Do you think that they all had similar political beliefs? Do you think they all thought the same? No, they had a problem and they dealt with it, and they had people that they thought were going to kill them or hurt them or infringe on their freedom, and they killed
them. They didn't just act as an angry mob. Somebody led them.
Absolutely, they did. Individual villages were the Viet Cong. Individual towns are the Taliban. That
requires a leader of some sort, no matter how.
Absolutely not.
You can't just have a mob.
It really doesn't. If you have an organizational structure that already rules somewhere, then it's way easier to defeat that organizational structure.
Exactly.
You already have that role. If you have
the whole point of the Boogaloo, or like whatever it is it's patient. It waits until it's so bad that you don't have to tell people what to do. It's so bad that you don't have to.
I don't think.
I don't care. They wait until it's so bad that people don't have to have someone tell them, because in the military, people have to tell you to go do something or something, because they're not going to be able to convince you, because it's all bullshit, right? But when it's not all bullshit, you don't need someone telling you to go fucking shoot that guy because looks like a fucking stormtrooper and you saw him kick in your neighbor's door yesterday. So you're just going to shoot him.
Okay,
Rooster,
and
I do not believe the people will wake up. I think what will happen, the Civil War, if it were to take place, would be engineered by a few reactionary right-wingers who want to see secession happen.
Okay,
Yeah,
There is
okay,
an argument
I
for
think that's
secession, but the right is about to get demographically dominated, and any areas which are not dominated will be dominated by the country.
no. You know what? You know what
As a
dominates
result-
every demographic? You know what dominates every demographic? Non-voters, non-political people.
I don't think
Republicans and Democrats don't
Party-
dominate shit.
The
It's the people
Republican
who
Party
hate politics
will
that
become
dominate.
a permanent electoral minority due to racial demographics.
You know who wins every election? Nobody. That's who wins every single election. The people who don't vote, don't care, don't want to see it. They vote for nobody. They don't go to the polling place because they don't believe in it. That's who wins every single election. Okay? Democrats and Republicans do not dominate anywhere.
That's
Yeah,
just
but
not
they still
That's because you live online. Online,
the law. Everyone still
yeah.
believes in legitimacy.
Online,
and that's what we've got to
Democrats,
change.
Republicans, they fight tooth and nail. But in reality, people just go to work, go home, hang out with their families. They don't give a fuck about politics until someone goes and kicks in their neighbor's door, then they start to.
I disagree that I don't think people don't care about politics.
People absolutely don't care.
I
The
think
majority of
I
people
don't know
don't
if
care.
it's every
Just
single
look at the votes.
time
Look at the votes this next election. It's
Nobody
coming up in
cares.
2 months.
Nobody cares about politics. People care about power. There's a difference.
People care about power and people care about rhetoric. People don't care about politics.
Right.
Wait,
They just want to live their lives. And then when
Originally,
someone
people were originally guided by principle. Then people became guided by theory. But now people are guided by greed.
No. Absolutely not. The
No?
people who think things and write things down. You're right. The masses have never changed, ever.
The masses generally tend to be the formless masses generally. I mean, okay, so
They're
not
just
to
the
start-
masses. They're about their
formless.
families. They're about their lives.
Yeah, no, they just want to do their own thing. Yet at the
So
same-
that's
the
what I'm
masses-
saying. The
it's funny,
Boogaloo will
masses are
happen.
The masses are simultaneously the most important in terms of like their needs and everything. Yet at the same time, the masses can't rule themselves for shit. And I think this is something the Right Cafe will definitely agree with me on.
Well, they don't think they can. They don't know they can. No one has ever told them they can.
Well, that's because the elite tells them that they can't, and it's kind of a
Exactly.
vicious cycle. It's kind of
So
a vicious cycle.
when the time comes that they start to not be able to live their lives, that's when what we're talking about is going to happen.
Well, the thing is,
if you guys have ever read, has anybody here ever read James Burnham before?
No. I have.
Okay. Well, okay. He was a former Trotskyist, and then he became like sort of a conservative writer. I think he was one of the original National Review people, but yeah, former Trotskyist, but very fantastic intellectual on the right in the 20th century, on par with Russell Kirk, I'd say. But so he wrote a book called The Machiavellians, which is all about.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote a book called The Machiavellians, and it's all about the nature of the political elite. There is always going to be an elite no matter what, and in a lot of ways, the system that the elite are a part of is actually more of a facade or a meta-narrative, so to speak. Like the democratic elite is the managerial elite, which is the business class, not actual capitalism, but managerial capitalism. And eventually you'll have a cycle of elites that will come along and will keep replacing previous cycles. So, for instance, you had the feudal elite. The feudal elite were overthrown by the aristocratic elite. The aristocratic elite were overthrown by the capitalist elite, and the capitalist elite were overthrown by the managerial elite back in the 1930s and 40s. So you had so we're living under the managerial elite now. And if Burnham were alive today, he'd probably think that we're living in the midst of another cycle.
Okay, so
let me finish what I was saying first.
Okay.
So, and I feel like we might actually, the next elite might be the populist elite, which is the elite of the masses. However, what the elite of the masses is going to be, it's not necessarily going to be all of the masses rule. It's going to be mass democracy, essentially. But what they are going to do is there is going to be a dictatorship of the plebiscite, a dictatorship of the voters. What the voters are going to do eventually, it is going to culminate in one single strongman leading the entire nation, more or less. And that strongman, his power is not going to be legitimized by anything like the divine right of kings or anything of that nature. His power is going to be legitimized by the fact that the people see him as an extension of their will. Think of a Julius Caesar or a Napoleon Bonaparte. That is what we are living through right now. And I think if such a Boogaloo, quote unquote, is to happen, that is going to be the result if the Boogaloo succeeds. And if the Boogaloo fails, then we are going to see just a continuous perpetuation of the managerial elite, which is what we have now.
Yeah.
Here's my question. What causes these people to seek whatever you're talking about, this replacement, this endless replacement? And I'll answer myself because the answer is so obvious, and it's power. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So how would taking that power away, the ability to have that power, just that power is never going to exist. Like, you're not going to have that power over me. But everyone's saying that. What would they do then? There wouldn't be a populist elite or an anything elite because they would have no reason to. Because the reason for them to be the elite, the reason for them to dictate what's going on is because they have that power over the people, power over the markets, power over the government, and power over everything. But the whole point of the Boogaloo is to interrupt that cycle and say, no longer do you have power over me. No longer are you going to have power in any way, democratically, aristocratically, any kind of way.
And that would be nice
That
to
is the
have.
result. I don't think. I mean, that's what they will tell themselves. That's what the dream will be. But the reality is, in every single instance where there has been a quote unquote revolution of that sort, there has been an elite that has emerged from that revolution that has become the elite of the section, or of the elite of the new order that revolution has established.
And that is a huge part of the road to serfdom. What rises out of the ashes
So what's
of the
worse,
war?
the U.S. as a colony or the U.S. as a sovereign state?
U.S. is a sovereign state, I'd say.
That's worse?
I mean, neither.
No, that's better. That's better.
Oh, okay. So that's what I'm saying is it's not, maybe it won't work out perfectly, but it might be better. I don't think it could get much worse.
Honestly, I'm in some ways I'm a historical determinist. In some ways I'm not. I'm not a historical determinist in the way that Marx or evangelical Christians are, when they say that this very, very specific thing is going to happen at this specific time and it's going to happen like this. I'm a historical determinist in the sense that I know that, in the sense that somebody observes and sees that a human being will reach middle age, a human being,
or that history always repeats itself, kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
so I'm a loose historical determinist.
Yeah.
But I know what is going to, it's like I believe that I know what is going to happen, but I realize that we don't know how it is going to happen. But so I know there is going to be the rise of another elite. That is inevitable, but we do not necessarily know what that elite is going to be.
Okay, so the last interruption I'll make is, you say, maybe not you say, but it has been said, like, it's not going to work. The Boogaloo is just going to lead to the populist elite.
It could
or
work,
whatever.
but it's not going to. But it's going to lead to the rise of a new elite.
Even if that's the case,
if it fails, it is going to be the same elite that we have today.
Even if it would lead to more authoritarianism, my only question to people when they say that is, what would you have me do?
The elite does not necessarily imply authoritarianism. There's always an elite, but that doesn't mean it's going to be an authoritarian elite.
You're missing my point.
It's like, divorce the terms, and I'm not supporting. I mean, I'm not endorsing the existence of an elite or any sort of unjustified hierarchy.
You're just saying it's going to happen.
I'm just saying I'm talking as it is not how.
Yeah,
I
exactly. So what I'm saying is,
I don't like
why
the
not
idea of
fight
elite.
it?
I don't like hierarchy. I mean, I don't like the idea of hierarchy, but I understand that it is inevitable and that it is kind of necessary for society.
Exactly. And that's why in the beginning I kind of said like the Boogaloo Boys, like we're the optimists, because it's like we understand history, we understand what's probably going to happen and maybe definitely going to happen, but it's like, what can we do about it? We're not the elite, so why not just fight it and see if we can change it?
Yeah.
And that's kind of my thing is like, what argument do you have for me not fighting? That's what I'm saying.
I just don't know if there is a fight to have. I don't know if anyone is going to have that fight other than a handful of us. You know?
So you want me to just live in misery and wish that freedom would exist and never know if I could have made it happen?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, we can get the strategy at some time. Not tonight, but that's definitely a discussion to have. I just don't think that the way the change we want to see in the world is going to come about is through violence. I don't think it's going to be through war or conflict. I think it's going to be through.
Who's laughing? I heard somebody laugh in the background.
Oh yeah, sorry. That's that's on my end. Yeah. I think that's going to be through a education of the general population, people getting red pilled, people understanding the horrors of the state, and B, through a destabilization of our state, whether that's things like the collapse of the dollar or the effects of agorism or things like that.
Okay.
I don't think
I'm
it's
not trying to attack you. I just want you to know that I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just kind of like responding to arguments.
I get it.
But I guess my statement is what if that's too late? And there's plenty of, or not plenty, but there's definitely people like you, like who think that way and who are going in that direction. But why not have people like me who are going in my direction? And why not just maybe mine works, maybe yours works, like I just think like, what if yours is too late and then we just have nothing,
Yeah, no, I get that. I just don't understand how you think we are going to go from the status quo from today to having insurrection or a Boogaloo. I don't understand how that could possibly happen with our current culture and our current political situation.
I think it's more like I said, like it's with the non-politicals. It's not with converting the commies or the Republicans or the Democrats or the Libertarians or whatever the fuck. It's with the government doing something so egregious that it wakes people up. And as soon as that starts to happen, we pounce on that opportunity and we just, boom, drive the fucking steamroller forward and we bring everyone along with us. As soon as they do something that bad that enough people are like, holy fuck, what is the government doing? That's when kind of, shit happens. And then the government does something crazy in response because that's all the government does. And then it brings even more people. And it's just a self-perpetuating cycle, but it's a good one that brings more and more people to our cause.
Yeah, and if you can make that happen, I applaud you, I support you, and I will try to help you out. I just don't think it's very realistic that it is going to happen.
I understand that. And it's not like I'm going to go just like, it's not like Boogaloo Boys think that they're just going to go like bomb this place or shoot these people or whatever, and that's going to start the Boogaloo. It has to be in response. It's funny because we're supposed to be non-reactionary, but it has to be a reaction for people to understand and to see past the lies and bullshit of the media. It has to be a reaction to something bad, really bad enough for retards to see it,
Yeah. And with you make a good point. I half agree with you, and with that I'm gonna have to head out pretty soon.
Well, I'm actually about to have some new panelists come on in a few minutes to replace the old ones. So I'm gonna try to go for another hour, 20 minutes or so. But
Calling the herd.
Yeah, gonna have a second wave come on. But either way, do you have any closing thoughts before you head out?
I don't know. I don't think it's very realistic that we're going to have a major organized conflict. I think we're just going to have what we have.
I mean, we might have
protests and riots.
Yeah, we might have a couple little things here and there, but I don't think we're going to have like some giant. We're not going to have anything to the scale of. Yeah.
All I have to say is
Do you really think you need someone to tell you what to do? That's all.
That's good.
But I'm done.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to find a couple more people to come on. If you guys want to stay on for like another 5 minutes while I replace the panel, that would be kind of great.
I can do that.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot more to say. But.
So yeah, so what did you guys think of? Just honestly speaking, what did you guys think of what was it? The right stuff. I'm trying to the right cast. What he had to say about his scenario. I personally found it interesting. I found it a little kind of like unrealistic and a little kind of fanficky, but I did find. I mean, I've definitely found it creative, and I definitely found it like in regards to a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the balkanization thing, the map that we're looking at?
Yeah, the map.
Yeah.
I guess, I do think he put work into it, and it looks interesting.
I see it as I think a worst case scenario could play out like as a slightly milder version of that.
Well, I don't think this is the worst case scenario.
And I think personally, it's just like you have to understand like the concept of land and connection.
Yeah.
And you can't just say, okay, this spot is uber liberal commie bullshit, so I'm going to make it this color. This spot is super conservative, so I'm going to make it this color. Because, like, I'm looking at the map right now. If you look at it, it's like you can't just have just factions just distributed willy-nilly. Like, it has to be like this big area is this big area is this. And the reason for that is because, okay, so you say Atlanta is the rebels. Okay, well, the secessionists are just going to either kill or convert them all, because how are they not going to do that? Because it's obvious that they're going to. And that's kind of just what I'm saying is it's like you kind of got to take into account like this like long thin strip on the West Coast, like that's going to get cut off instantly. It's already cut off on the map, and then it's dead. Like this light blue shit, that's dead.
Yeah, if you do have it divided into all these different factions, whether you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, he's got 10 factions up here, including Florida. Then it's not that's going to be crazy. That would be a lot more chaotic. Like you said, if you just have that thin strip, then that's not going to stand. That rebel faction too, they're done in like what, a couple months. If we're talking about like a full scale war here, that's not going to happen like that. But overall, I think it's a really creative scenario. I think it's interesting idea. I can't envision how it would happen so that would be like this. But
I don't think Americans
really interesting scenario.
I think before the 19th century, Americans saw themselves as members of a state. I'm an Alabaman. I'm a Georgian. And then in the 20th and especially 21st century, we do not think like that at all. No one thinks like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can't.
They moved on from a compact theory to a nationalist view.
So I don't think balkanization. I'm not saying balkanization wouldn't happen, but I don't think it would happen based on states or counties, because people don't think of themselves as members of states or counties. They think of themselves as Americans.
Yeah, and something else to really consider here is the effects of our advanced communication. People aren't necessarily going to fight. They're not necessarily going to align themselves with someone across town. They're going to align themselves with their Twitter friends. That's going to be their view. I think this is going to be more a cultural war and an informational war than it is a blood war.
And you can say the Boogaloo is not likely to happen, and that's understandable, but this is less likely to happen. That's all,
Yeah. And the
Boogaloo is everywhere and it's decentralized. So you can't have a place to attack. And that's kind of the whole point, is because our numbers are so few, we have to be separate from each other.
Yeah.
You couldn't interrogate one of us and be like, where's your central command? Because we don't have one. So fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. And
my central
as a
command
rebel
is the
movement,
NAP,
that is very effective. Yeah. So
Yeah. So wait, so Rooster, you consider yourself part of the Boogaloo, right?
Yes. I don't use that term anymore because
for optics, I'm guessing.
I don't like. I'm not trying to distance myself from other people. I want other people to like look at what I think. So if I use a term like Boogaloo that they already have a hard stance on, then they won't give a shit about what I have to say. So I don't use that term, but based on what has been said in the past 2 hours, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah. But what do you think a good? So like, as somebody who's sort of at least adjacent to that movement, kind of flies around in their circles, what would you say a good potential rebranding would be, at least like for the sake of optics?
So this is what I would say, and this is kind of not an answer to your question, but it's my answer.
Okay.
So it's not about rebranding, okay? What it's about is I'm not asking anyone to do anything. The only person that should be a revolutionary, the only person that should be a Boogaloo boy is one that feels called to it, one that feels so strongly that they can't live in the tyranny they're under or in the tyranny they're going to be under. They have to do something. And I don't think you need a branding. You don't need ads for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to bring people in, because I don't want to bring people in to something that, realistically could cause them to die,
Yeah.
And there's so much better shit that they could be doing if they're not called to that. Like Carl said, all the shit that he does, that should be the shit that everyone does. Like, that everyone's who's like libertarian. The branding we should have is just like, all right, here's libertarianism, or here's anarchism. This is what you should do. Agorism, just subverting the state, whatever, just nonviolent shit. And only the kind of few who just like feel very strongly in that sort of way should become part of it, because it's not meant to be a big thing,
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I'm kind of similar to rebranding, like, just random question. What do you think of like all of the fun stuff, like changing the name to, I don't know, like the Burlington Coat Factory annual employee Christmas party, the Big Luau? What do you think of all those?
The Big Luau.
You mean the CNN boy?
The Big Luau. And then
I'm a CNN boy. If you want to ask me what I am a CNN boy.
Nice.
Mommy Tulsi can be like the leader.
Oh yeah.
So it's clear, okay, that every single aspect of everything that I'm a part of is completely infiltrated by government agents.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Same.
So I don't know, it's like, if I can, there's I don't know if I want to bring it up. So it's kind of just like subversion, and not sabotage per se, but just like subversion and sabotage, just like waste their time, make them have to fucking Google shit, make them have to fucking look shit up. It's like, I love watching YouTube videos of scammers, the YouTube videos of guys who call scammers and
fun.
fuck with them,
I
and
know
like
exactly what you're trying
and
about.
just waste their time. That's kind of how I feel about it. I'm trying to waste the Fed's time. I'm trying to just make it so they can't go get the guy who's actually doing some shit. You know what I'm saying? Just like make them have to look shit up, make them have to like read 1,000 pages of fucking my Discord memes, and to find nothing, and just waste their time. That's my goal,
Yeah, I have like I have like that exact statement in meme format. I don't know. I don't think I can put that in the chat, but yeah, it's that if you're gonna have all of these spooks come after you, hey, might as well have some fun, have some memes along the way.
And that's my whole thing is like, I'm just one guy and I actually don't know that much, and I'm not that like, I'm not a fucking Green Beret. It's not like I can go into a town and just fucking organize them all to like fight the government. So I just do what I can do.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't have to be legal or illegal or anything like that.
if it's just fucking with them and just irritating them, pissing them off, maybe one. And right now, so I'm in the Army right now, and like that's kind of how I feel right now. Is
You're in the Army?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised. An ANCAP in the Army. I think you'd like be morally against that.
Oh, I am. I wasn't an ANCAP when I joined.
So that's what got you to become an ANCAP, I'm guessing.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, it's like at work, all I do, and this pisses everyone off. Basically, half the people around me hate me. I just bring up how stupid what we're doing is. I bring up, how it could be better, just over and over and over, day in and day out for years.
So
all it does is
anti-imperialist working for an imperialist organization.
Yeah, and it's like my whole
that is good
thing
work, man. That's the good Nazi guard, burn
if
one less.
one guy hates me, just hates me so much that he doesn't re-enlist because he doesn't want to deal with another person like me, or he hears what I have to say and is like, man, that is kind of bullshit, and doesn't re-enlist or gets out of the Army, I will have considered myself a success.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're
and it's the
doing
same
God's
thing
work,
with
my friend.
That is.
If one person, even a fucking spook, if one person or one person who reads what I say says, you know what, I don't fucking agree with what's actually going on. I'm going to do this or that. Well, I'm putting shit out to hundreds of thousands of people over my lifetime. So I don't think it's too much to ask for one person to change their ways or to change how they think. And if that happens, that's what makes me happy. So, and I just have to hope for that.
Yeah,
that is definitely a good goal, good work. I'm glad you're doing that, man.
So tell us about that. Like, are there any people in the Army? Like, okay, so as somebody who is in the military, I was trying to have somebody else who was a former Marine in here, but I haven't heard from him. Like a personal friend of mine, actually. But for you, as somebody who is in the military, what do you think your fellow soldiers would do, or what their personal opinions would be, and also whether or not they would follow orders if it was something that contradicted their personal opinions in the case of some kind of insurgency or civil war?
It's tough. Like, everyone follows orders all the time, right? So it's hard to gauge where their line would be because you don't know where it is until you hit it. I mean, obviously a lot of people in the military are conservative, so they would be against gun confiscation and rounding up American citizens. So I do think and there's also the divide between combat arms and non-combat arms. And I'm non-combat arms, but I think the combat arms boys are a little more fucking not giving a fuck, and I think they would definitely be like, no, fuck you. And if they're like, no, fuck you, it doesn't matter what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have, like, from the government, I don't have much gun training. It's not like I can go round people up or my squad or anything like that. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I think kind of the support elements would just keep doing what they're doing because we're not actually going to go round people up. It's just like overseas. We don't actually go and shoot people. So we don't give a fuck, even though we help to provide the opportunity for the combat arms people to go shoot people. So that's kind of what I think is, I think the combat arms guys would be able to stop it. I really do. But that's more of a personal belief than any evidence,
So do you know anybody who would personally defect potentially?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Hundreds.
Are you able to elaborate on that? Would you feel comfortable doing so?
Yeah. So there's lots of people. You gotta understand, the Army is the largest organization in the world. So I'm trying to like give the most broad things I can. But personally, oh yeah, I know people that would not defect and sabotage. Absolutely. I know people that would defect and take the knowledge that they have and do everything they can to stop what's going on. those are definitely two main camps that I know a lot of people like that. And when I say like people that would not defect, I'm talking about Humvees don't take keys to start. You know what I'm saying? You wait until someone leaves one unlocked. There's this thing called a steering wheel lock. It's just a cable lock. You could cut it if you wanted to too, and just drive it off. You say, here, you want a Humvee? Here you go. You want 10 more? There you go. Literally. So
yeah, but do you think so? Let's say there's like a little rebellion that starts in Sandusky, Ohio. Okay, just random town. What do you think that they would? So of course they'd send the National Guard there.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not in the National Guard.
No, yeah, I know that. But like, say they send the National Guard there, and say for whatever fucking reason, the National Guard gets their asses whooped.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen next?
Well, I mean, I don't know what would happen next, but that's the shitty thing. It's like the whole thin blue line thing. It's like, okay, the National Guard gets fucked, so then higher up, command says, all right, this unit is going. And maybe the people in this unit were totally for the riots and totally for whatever happened that got the National Guard fucked. But they hear about all the casualties of the National Guard, and so they say, well, okay, fuck it. Or they say, well, I'm in the Army, so this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to shoot anyone that looks at me wrong, which is what the Army is going to do, and that's what's going to happen. It's kind of like, my thinking is, without the propaganda, and then the propaganda comes into play, like, oh, 13 wounded and 5 dead. Well, it's out of 1,000, but still, if you're in their shoes, if you're in the shoes of someone that's actually going there, 13 out of 1,000 doesn't sound that crazy, That's 1.3%. So maybe they are going to be pretty heavy on the trigger, even if they, as a civilian, would have been completely in support of the people who fucked over the National Guard, So it might get bad. I don't really have anything else besides that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I just realized I was on mute this whole time.
Oh, I was kind of wondering.
You were doing like a masterful discourse.
Dead air. I was like, do you want me to say more? I don't know.
No, because did you get? So wait, you heard the part where I asked, like about the defections and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard up until you asked what would happen if the National Guard got their ass kicked, and then they asked the Army to go in.
Okay. All right. So I was going to ask, okay, so what a lot of people on the left, or I'm not even going to say on the left, but establishment Democrats specifically, they talk about the National Guard as if, oh yeah, that is the modern version of a militia, which is definitely not true because they are under the Department of the Army. So, like, a militia is supposed to be a decentralized local movement. But I've noticed that the government's trying to completely vilify the concept of an actual militia, which is a disorganized.
Okay, I don't want to insult you, but even you have the wrong definition of a militia.
Okay. Can you elaborate?
The militia, it started out as fighting aged men who can fight.
Basically. Yeah, no, I know that. I know
in
that.
the United States, and now it's fighting age men and women because women are equal.
Of course.
And that's all it is.
They're equal now.
There is no
I just
sign up sheet. There is no fucking, contact list. It's people who, maybe are over the age of 16 and under the age of 65. That's the militia, literally.
So we're all the militia.
Huh?
So we are the militia then.
Exactly. There is no.
So even militia movements aren't the actual militia because they're movements.
They are and they aren't. They are because they're the people, but but saying that they're a militia and a like small group militia, that's not what makes them the militia.
So the militia would just then be, in that case, if some kind of enemy attacks, then
exactly who would fight?
It's like everyone who has a gun. It's like take
exactly
your powder,
exactly.
take your gun, report to General Washington. If anybody gets the reference.
Not even that. Who would fight invaders? Well, who do you know? Oh, well,
No,
every
exactly
one of them,
right. Like, did you know
every person that you know between the age of 18 and 65 would fight invaders unless they were disabled in some way.
Yeah,
and every person that I know is like that.
Also, fun fact: if every country in the world declared war on the U.S., the United States would win for that very reason.
Exactly.
No, that's actually that is fact. The United States would win a war against the rest of the world.
We have like 70% of the world's guns.
Really? Yeah. Then why haven't we won a war since World War II?
Exactly. And that's exactly my point, is because we've been fighting against insurgents.
Those are just little imperialist ventures.
Yeah.
You cannot, there is no force on this earth that can win a war against insurgents without killing them all.
Absolutely correct. 100%.
And if DC wants to win,
we can't fight them
against the people, they can. Everyone's right when they say they can. But then they will be governing a large swath of glass. That's all that they will get.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, and then the rest of them are just a population that hates them that will continue out guerrilla war.
It will never
end. And you're
end.
gonna have never-ending attacks, never-ending terrorism. It's never gonna work. You can't fight them over there. You can.
I'm not.
Fight them over there.
I'm not a special person when I say, I will fight until I die. There is a lot of people that say I'll fight until I die, and for every one of us that dies, there's 10 more that will start to say I fight until I die. Until everyone is like, okay, I'm gonna fight you until I die, and then you just have to kill us all. And then what do you get?
Yeah. You get the glass.
Oh yeah,
and that's why all these wars are never gonna work.
No, that's exactly why these wars, these invasions that we're currently carrying out in the Middle East aren't working, because people there are armed. Well, and they don't like the fact that we're trying to push. Basically, okay. So I like to think of it as so the crusading. That is a Western tradition that goes back about 1,000 years. The thing is, though, with the Enlightenment, the Christian feeling of progress was secularized, rationalized, and naturalized. And now we have liberalism instead. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I myself self-identify as a liberal. But but crusading never really went away. Instead, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit became life, liberty, and property. Or rather, actually, I think I'd say equality, democracy, and materialism. That might be a better way of wording it.
Thank you.
And and now, instead of the religion of Christianity being imposed by governments on the Middle East, it's now the religion of democracy that is being imposed on the Middle East. It's the same exact thing, but we just do not realize it. Democracy is our religion, and we are currently trying to evangelize the rest of the world. But the rest of the world doesn't want it, because it is not a natural expression of their indigenous culture. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. And where do they want the democracy?
Does that make sense?
Okay, they want democracy for Iraq. Okay, but what is Iraq? Okay, Iraq is a country that was made out of thin air by the U.S. and the Brits after World War II. Just like Iran, just like Afghanistan. And you can't have democracy between groups that either want to live completely separate from each other or want to kill each other. So if you force them to have a master over both of them, they're going to want their guy to be the master. And then their guy is going to want to kill as many of the other guy as possible. That's just human nature, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't an issue until after World War II, until after we drew these imaginary lines and said, you guys are in the same group. And they said, we haven't been in the same group ever, since Muhammad.
Yeah. And that all happened because of World War I. In the words of Scott Horton, everything bad in the world is Woodrow Wilson's fault.
All these arbitrary, artificial lines that were drawn, there were just the colonial borders that existed.
And the funny thing is, if you redrew the lines right now properly, almost all of the conflict would go away pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you redrew the lines and you left, absolutely.
You just let them do it themselves.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But no, but the West has to be the final arbiter in absolutely everything that everybody fucking does.
After all,
When
we
it
are the
refers- when
policemen of
it
the
has to
world.
do with international relations.
Yeah. Such a mess, dude.
It is.
It's fucked up.
But yeah. So I think I'm going to start. I want to wrap up within the next 10 minutes. I haven't been able to get any replacement panelists on, but honestly, I'm trying to go for shorter live streams anyway, because most of ours have been, or most of the ones on my channel have been a little over 10 hours, 10 hours. I've been a little over 3 hours long, and I'm trying to limit it to like 2 to 2.5 lately. So we're going to wrap up. Let's just bring it back to the Civil War idea just for a little bit longer. What direction do you think realistically, just flat out realistically, do you think that the U.S. government, or not the U.S. government, the country is going to go in?
And I think the election is going to be a really important factor in that. If Trump wins, the left is going to go absolutely even more insane. These riots are going to be, exponentially worse.
Because they're normal now. It's been normalized.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, I can't really say it's going to be a disaster, which I kind of want to see. I kind of want to see all of those social bonds, all of those political bonds totally dissolve, and everyone realize that this is all about power. So yeah, I think that if Trump is reelected, the left's going to go crazy and see that. If Biden is reelected, here's the thing. I don't think I mentioned this. I was trying to say this earlier. I don't think that the populism of the right wing has either the principles or the balls needed to step up and start some sort of violent resistance. If Biden wins,
I personally think it's a grit.
I'm sorry.
Trump is it's a grit. Right wing populism at this point is a bit of a grit.
Yeah.
Because it's basically billionaires pretending to be populists.
Yeah. And I've lived in the South in my entire life. I'm in the South right now. Most of the people around me, almost everyone's on the right. Very few people are going to say, yeah, if Biden wins, we should secede. Or if Biden wins, we're gonna, start marching and we're gonna start burning. Very few people I know would say that or anything close to that. They would just say, okay, then yeah, hopefully we can keep the Senate and we can stop like bad bills from going through. It's just going to be that because they don't have the revolutionary inspiration and aesthetics that the left wingers do, and that progressive cult does.
Oh, we do, baby, but not about Trump and Biden.
Yeah, we do.
You're
but
right.
It's
You're
a
right.
separate issue.
Okay, so Rooster, let's move on to you now. How do you think it would realistically play out? Or actually, no, not even that. Like, what do you think even the likelihood of a civil war is in general? Because I mean, honestly, like I'm just gonna put in my input first, but so you guys know Tim Pool, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been watching him for a couple of years now, and honestly, I don't like him nearly as much as I used to because I don't want to call him a grifter because I don't think he is, but I do think he's kind of pandering a little more to his audience now, and it's kind of making me sad. But he's always talked about, and I thought it was hyperbolic in the past, but he's talked about, especially for the past year, I think we're moving towards civil war. And his theory was that it began at Charlottesville back in 2017. This isn't necessarily about that, but I'm starting. So while I wouldn't go full out and say we're moving towards civil war. I do think he's a little more right. I do think in hindsight, maybe this was a prediction he was kind of right on, because it's starting with the riots, and you're starting to see like little bouts of violence everywhere, like in a couple different places. Like you have the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, you have Jacob Gardner, even George Floyd, however, I'd say I don't think George Floyd was murdered. I think he was executed by the United States government. That's my position. But either way, you sort of start to see that. And it almost makes me wonder, maybe he is right in a sense. So while I don't think it's going to be a massive, full-scale war in terms of like you're going to have legions of soldiers fighting other soldiers in the same sense like it was in the last war of the Roman Republic when it was Mark Antony versus Octavian. But I think we might see something similar to that in the sense where you're going to have personal factions fighting against personal factions of politicians, of soldier, quote-unquote, emperor or soldier politicians. And eventually it's going to end with one succeeding and becoming a Caesar, more or less, to use those terms.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be as large scale in terms of giant battles. A lot of it is going to be through social media. A lot of it is going to be through the media in general. You're going to see violence, but I think there are going to be other outlets that are used as a whole. So I think it's going to be a quote unquote war like nothing that we have ever seen before. So violent, but not particularly violent, but through a lot of other technological media that we have never had before in history. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, Rooster. I want you to go next.
Okay. So for what I think is going to happen, I pretty much agree with Carl. Like, Trump gets elected, riots are going to increase. If Biden gets elected, they'll probably either stay the same or go down. I don't think that's the real issue because elections happen every 4 years. Everyone says they're the most important. Every 4 years, everyone freaks out every 4 years, so it doesn't make a fucking difference. What I will say is,
I can agree with that too.
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't think it matters who is in office, really. It's
honestly,
it's
like
the cultural conversation around it.
Yeah, what I just said, that was more of a hypothetical if there were to be a civil war.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I think something like that might happen eventually, but I don't think that if it happens, it's not going to happen for another 50 years or so.
Exactly. So to my next point, what are the odds of a civil war happening? In my opinion, the odds are 100%. The only question is,
I think it's not going to happen until we probably have grandchildren.
Exactly. The only question is time. I can't give you an answer on that. I have no clue.
I have no clue on time. Yeah. I think it's only going to get worse from here, but I don't think that we are at that breaking point yet.
Yeah. I agree.
I think Trump is just sort of a precursor for the kind of leaders that will have to come. I think our leaders,
possible. Yeah.
Our political leaders, I just think are going to keep getting more unusual and more unusual.
Yeah.
And
it started with Reagan too, I think.
Yeah. Well, FDR, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, in terms of like weird people becoming president.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or
Reagan,
even with
definitely.
Nixon, maybe Nixon.
No,
I don't think people realized he was weird until he was president.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, people knew Reagan was weird when he became president, though, already.
But what I will say is,
the only not. So I've had I had this joke that I remember I posted it on Twitter. I said the last non-weird president we had was Jimmy Carter. I mean, he was pretty weird, but like not to the extent of every president after. The one exception may have been Bush Sr. Bush
Sr. is a weird dude. There's something about that guy.
I mean, he was probably a psycho.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's absolutely a psycho. He assassinated JFK and he armed and trained Al Qaeda.
The Mujahideen, yeah.
There's just personally, there's something weird about him. He's like kind of like some sort of robotic thing, like kind of like Zuckerberg, but not.
But more evil.
So he's very lizard person-ish.
Yeah. So what I want to say, one thing is,
I think, but would you guys agree? I mean, Bush Jr. was fucking weird, But would you agree that Trump is probably the weirdest president we've had since the weird presidents began?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in my
Because I would
memory,
say,
there's no
would you guys also agree Reagan was probably the first weird, like super weird president we had?
yeah. I don't know. I don't really know how weird Reagan was.
I mean, he was weird in kind of an endearing sort of way, but he was weird.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so just let me finish real quick. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So I know I talk a lot about like the far future, things that might not happen. But what I will say is something that can happen now that almost all people are in support of is ending the war on terror and ending the war on drugs. If we can actually, and this is an actual possibility, if we can actually piss off Congress enough to end the war on terror and the war on drugs and just fuck with them enough until they do, that is an actual real road back to liberty. Because once those are over,
okay, yeah,
people will be able to fucking think about other things again. But those are my main two things. If you can end the war on terror and end the war on drugs, I don't think a Boogaloo or a civil war or anything or tyranny would happen.
Yeah.
So if we can do those things, and if you talk to anyone and say, what do you think about the war on terror? They say, oh, we should end it. And then you say, what do you think about the war on drugs? Oh, we should end it. Everyone's in agreement. We just need to fucking put the pedal down.
And here's the thing with that. I'll preface this by saying what you think doesn't affect what your congressperson does a whole lot. That doesn't matter. It's all, you know, the lobbyists and stuff. But what is really it really is important to let them understand the public opinion. Every time the NDAA vote comes around to, you know, fund that, I am writing letters to Congress, not because I think it changes anything, but so that I can let them know that what they are doing when they vote yes, and what the American people view that as. So I encourage everyone to do that. I don't like Congress any more than you do. I probably hate them more than you do. But that doesn't mean that you can't do something to possibly change that. It's a very small thing, but you know, if like a small town, you know, small district congressman is getting like a whole bunch of letters about the NDAA saying, yeah, my brother got killed in that war, don't you dare give them money. Or I look in the news and I see all of these people at weddings getting killed, don't you dare give them money. If, you know, one guy there, that's a vote against it. And if you can have progress in that political area, that is a really huge thing. That's just something that I work on a lot in like my personal life outside of this whole, you know, thing I do. That's a really important thing that if you can just spend a little bit of time on, can have a big effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
On that note, I think we will end here. It was great to have you on again, Carl. And Rooster, it was great to have you on as well. I'd like to potentially have you on again another time. Maybe I was thinking about having a maybe more of an economics-based discussion / debate sometime. And I know you're, or actually maybe even better, on the next stream we have focused on foreign policy. I might like to have you on because you do have experience in the military.
I think the foreign policy one would be better for me.
Yeah.
I can definitely get you someone for the economics one because I know a little bit, but not nearly enough to educate people.
So in terms of the big games, the big leagues, guess who I have managed to convince to come on a future foreign policy episode?
You did not get.
Yes, I did.
Danny Surgison.
What?
Danny Surgeon.
I was gonna say Kevin Castley.
Kevin Castley. Okay.
You know Kevin Castley, right?
I've heard of him. I don't know a whole lot.
A really cringe neocon. Who's never been in the military.
I might threaten his life if that's okay.
He also thinks the term or the phrase "bring the boys back home" is very condescending to the troops.
Yeah, I might actually threaten his life and ask for his address. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sorry, what were you saying, Rooster?
I said I might threaten his life and ask for his address. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. So yeah, no, I think that would be
But
great.
no, I would now.
Chicken hot.
Yes, I would love to be on that because if he's gonna be on there, I want to be on there because
Dude,
he
if
needs to be fucking educated.
I'll take the opportunity to beat up a neocon. I will.
No,
jump
but
on
when I say neocon, I mean like more neocon than Bill Kristol. He wants war with China, like unironically.
Oh, China.
Cringe. So cringe.
That's bad. Honestly,
Okay,
I don't know
anyway.
nearly about as enough. As
Anyway,
Joe,
yeah. On that note, thank you guys for coming on. I think we had a pretty productive. I was about to say progressive. I mean, I guess progressive, but we had a very productive conversation pertaining to the topic on the quote-unquote Civil War, Boogaloo, whatever. Yeah, you know. But again, I'd like to have you guys both on some episodes in the future. And I'm very satisfied with the timing of this one. 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 48 seconds as of my saying of 48 seconds. But yeah, so thank you everybody for tuning in. I see we still have several people who stayed with us this entire time. So for those of you who are currently watching / listening, and if you have not done this, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for further content. I'm still working on those regular videos that I promised even 2 weeks ago, but work has been swamping me. I've been working like 5 days a week, and I've been like going straight to sleep when I've come back. But yeah, so just bear with me, guys, and I'll be sure to have that content out soon. And thank you for listening / watching.
Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
no
man.
problem.
Always a good time.
All right, good night.